Hi folks, this is just a quick interspersing of something. We recorded one of our podcasts and we're the latest episode, and we're going to stick a video version on. There was a little bit of issues very early on. I don't know what the issue is with sound dropping out just for a little section right at the beginning. I've been messing about with it and I don't know whether or not there's going to be the dropout on the final video. There probably is, but it only lasts a few seconds, and I think that's the only one. Podcasts are a bit less different to our battle reports. We've been doing the podcast now for about 3 years, well, going on for 3 years. It's a bit different. I'll try and put some timestamps in the description when I get round to it, but yeah, it's probably something you have to ease into. We just sit around, have a bit of a chat, a few beers, put the world to rights, stick it on while you're painting or something. But yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Episode 54 of the Northern Invasion podcast. You're joined by myself, Stu West, and this fine week we are joined by Mr. Liam Watt, Mr. Nathan Watson,
hello,
and Mr. Listbot himself. It's JP. Why don't we do a little hobby update? It's been a while. We'll just stick to the highlights because I have no idea what I've been doing. I've been doing too much.
Rubbing it in.
Well, I've started a lot of projects. I'm pretty good at starting projects. I actually finished my Feck army, so that was good. Nice. I got that finished. My blister skin, my dead watch. I've used that a few times. I have actually just bought that Battle Force box, whatever it is, the Broken Realms one, which has got the Arch Regent, some more horrors and some ghouls, just because I wanted a few options. So I've now got 40 ghouls paint and another 6 flayers and an Arch Regent, so I'll get round to them. Aside from that, Liam finished the KO, so I've played them a few times. That's been good. He's doing Wave 2.
1.0.
Yeah. What else have I done? I'm looking around myself. I've built Nagash. That's one thing I am doing at the moment for an Easter project. I think I've got one of the cheapest 2,000 point armies. So it's Nagash. This army you can get for 150 quid for a 2,000 point army if you go to your friendly local gaming store. So it's Nagash. It's that Battle Force box with a Liege Cavalos and 2 5s of Death Riders and a box of Mortek Guard. And then in the corner, I have a Spell Portal and Purple Sun.
Well, that's not cheap then, because isn't the Marlon Sorcery box like 40 quid?
No,
everybody's got it.
Yeah, everybody's got them. They're just kicking them out.
It's an investment.
I'll be honest. When you posted that in Facebook or the chat earlier, I did Google it myself and think, that actually looks like a quite retidy army.
Yeah, it's good. And I'm going no Myriad, so I'm going to absolutely hump Teclis with my 2+ ignore spells. No, more Croak, because Teclis' little minions will just shoot me off.
So will Croaks.
No. Croak's too slow. It'll be fine. No, but anyway, I just thought it'd be a little project. It's small army. It's only, 32 models? Yeah, and I've had Nagash kicking about for a while. And I thought, to be honest, when the Gravelords book comes out, I doubt I'll be able to play Nagash. And I probably won't be able to play my Morghasts. I doubt I'll be able to play Arcan. So I've already got quite a lot of stuff that's in the Bone Reaper's book. So that thing coming out, that little box with the Death Riders and the Cavalos, seemed like a good deal. So that's my Easter project.
You got your 4 crawlers as well, yeah?
No, not bothering with that. My alternate list without Nagash in is just Arcan and 4 Morghasts instead of Nagash. Which, yeah, It's a bit of fun.
Just 5 models.
Yeah. So
No
yeah.
battle.
Anyway, that's a bit of what I've done. I won't go into all of it because I think there's a bit. Yeah. Started a lot of stuff. But what about yourselves? What have you been on, Liam?
KO Wave 2.0, which feels like forever. I had a baby 6 weeks ago, so that's kind of dulled down and taken out. Just time's flown this last 6 weeks, so I
Good
haven't
man.
got much
Yeah, it
else
has.
done.
How much sleep are you getting?
I'm good. Yeah, I sleep like a baby. I had a good nap this afternoon with her. We slept for about a good 3 hours on the sofa. So unfortunately, I needed to get up to pee, which woke her up. Which I was like, damn. We got a couple more hours there, but no, she was a good sleeper.
Piss yourself like the baby.
Yeah, I don't wear a nappy, unfortunately. It makes it a lot harder.
What you could do.
I could do.
I was gonna
Maybe
say
should.
it's
I don't know.
You're obviously not that tired yet. When you
Yeah.
get that tired, you'll think about
You'll
it.
get there.
Yeah. No. Good sleeper, good eater.
Good.
Cries loudly, which hurts my ears, but other than that,
Better
baby
like
sorry.
you then.
yeah, just like me. Cries a bit about every little thing.
How
Got a
many
demon
times
army.
Does she say? What's the word? Obviously. Yeah.
Obviously.
Is it a middle name?
And that will be our first word because she'll hear it a million times by the time she starts speaking. Obviously. I've got my own demon army. I've got a large Nurgle army to paint. Still, I've got obviously all the Legion of Chaos Ascendant additions. Got the half-built my own Legion Lumineth Realm Lords army, which was a Droger theme. It's kind of just
like a Dragon Ogre themed.
Droger, like Skyrim Drogers, like undead ice skeletons sort of thing. But that's kind of sat on a tray as well for the last 2 months.
I thought you were going to be like, yeah, Dragon Ogre, Lumineth Realm Lords conversion army. I was like, whoa.
No, that'd be eels. If I was going to use for anything, it'd be an eel army. Looking, just waiting for Broken Realms Bellicor. I think that's kind of where. So I know if I'm allowed to build more demons or if I go lean into the new Nurgle stuff which came out, which looks pretty good.
Yeah.
On paper, I'm not sure about it. Coping, but I don't know how long these missions will last with AoS 3 coming. So
Yeah. I think the missions are probably all going to change, aren't they? Come summer, if the release schedule's on tag.
This set of missions that came in the new ones were all quite. When they altered all the old ones, it was like, oh, battle line scores better than this, behemoths or monsters score better than this. If they go down that road again, certain armies will struggle because they don't have access to everything like what some older armies do, or like the newer armies which get new releases every 8 months.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. Oh well, we'll see. We've got Baby Bellicor. We've got a games day tomorrow, and Eric's bringing Baby Bellicor before he becomes Big Bellicor. So
I played with him today.
did you?
Yeah.
Did you play the new model?
No, I wish. Give me the new model. I'll play with it.
Yeah, GW, please send a copy to each of our houses.
I think that there's been a bit of rage about
This is content creating.
sending models to people on the internet.
Yeah, but we would
Maybe
use
just
it.
keep
We
our
would
head
use it
down.
good.
We would
Nobody
use
else
our powers for good. So
Yeah, but nobody's ever going to send anything to us, so that we don't have to worry about that sort of stuff.
I tell you, painting models in the dark makes them look way better.
Yeah,
Well,
if you play in the dark as well, nobody even knows. Even Nathan's had qualifiers painted at an event.
Nathan's army is a
you can like
paper
get some
bag
glow in the dark
job,
paint. That's why
You just need to scrape your own eyes off as well as your model's eyes, and you're golden.
So have you been working on then, Nathan?
I've been kind of building everything that I've bought over lockdown because I've not painted anything, but I've what way do I need to move? There's like a full dock army that I've got built in my cabinet, and I'm currently building some KO. So just going through everything that I've got in boxes, and then I'll maybe start painting soon. So yeah.
My lockdown hobby became buying stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I found I wasn't traveling to events, so my hobby budget wasn't being wasn't
Exactly.
being sort of sapped that way.
Yeah.
So
For tax reasons, you've got to spend the whole thing, or they won't give you as much the next year.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't, yeah. So there you go. So now I've got a ridiculous amount of models that, yeah, in a lifetime I couldn't possibly hope to paint. I even said to the children recently that in their lifetimes they probably couldn't get through my backlog of painting. So there has to be some decisions made about what goes. Either that, or I'll be packaging more armies up and sending them to Liam.
Yeah. I'll be
Please, I
buying
need
it
time
like
for
a
my own
car,
hobby.
so.
Jeez.
Yeah. Well. So, what about yourself then, JP? What are you busy beavering away at there?
So at the moment, I'm working on this Mangler squig.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just been
new
working.
film?
Huh? Yeah, new
They have a
fill.
new fill.
Confirmed new fill. I've been very slowly working my way through the Gits army. I've always been pretty good about Pile of Shame. I don't think I have anything. I think it's just I've got the Gits army that I'm currently finishing, and that's my sort of Pile of Shame. But I've been mainly working on the Listbot website. That's most of my sort of quote unquote hobby time, which is less fun than painting squigs. I can't confirm.
You just need to teach Listbot to paint, and then you're away.
So, yeah, I know.
We'll talk about Listbot more later. So you've been working on that Trog army for a while now. What have you done so far?
So I've got the Mega Gargant. I've got the Spider, the big Spider Shaman. Got 4 Trogs. I got Scragrot. Got Geminids. I need to paint all the Grots. That's the big thing. 60 Grots for battle line purposes.
You've got some grots on bases of models.
Yeah, I've got 20 Grots built.
That's
But
awful.
So
So
you
a
have
lot
an
more.
old.
Yeah, well, I built a commission Grots army that I ended up playing at an event because it was my friend's first tournament, and so Gobblepalooza Grots was a bit more complicated than Flesh Eater Court, so we just swapped armies when we got there.
Good old days when Feck were point and click.
Yeah, Feck are great fun to play.
I love Feck. They've got such a soft spot for them in my heart. I think that one of the hard things is that they're not very fun to build lists for.
Yeah,
because
they're very limited.
Yeah, they've got quite high points cost, but I'm just waiting. Every year their points go down a little bit, so eventually they'll be small enough that I think we can see some cool stuff pop up again.
Just change their FAQ.
Yeah.
I think they should have got a scroll update in the Broken Realms Marathi. I think the Crypt Flayers and Crypt Hoarders should have got an update.
Feck haven't been in any of the Broken Realm books yet.
Yeah,
have they?
But I thought they got units. Yeah. They got a kit.
Oh, they're in the they've got the box and they've got a thingy in this one.
There's a Tech Wizards one they got. But yeah, they didn't get any scroll updates.
No.
That's what I'm saying. They should have.
Yeah, Flayers and Horrors.
Fort Bell's Hellcourt. So it's an Archregent, Horrors and Ghouls. They're part of Hollowmourne. So you're immune to battle shock if you're wholly within 12 of the Archregent, and his command trait is once per battle, he can use Ravenous Crusaders without a command point being spent. So it's not going to set the world on fire, really. But that's about as far as it goes. Yeah.
It's crazy how strong their rules were when they came out, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
They had 3 scrolls that had really strong rules, and
that stuff is good.
Those were Terrageists.
Yeah, I honestly think. Now I played Flesh Eater Court, so take this with the biased grains of salt. But I think a big thing is when Feck and Skaven came out, they really marked like a new power level in AoS, and I think people just didn't people weren't ready for it, so they just smashed face. I think if you left Feck, maybe with just the points changes they got, I think the Archregent was a little undercosted. Just with the points changes they got, and then Slanesh and all these shooting armies that come out, I don't think Feck would be super problematic even as it because also Feck used to be one of the problems with Feck I think is that if you played Ironjaws before they got their book, you just couldn't do anything to them. Now Ironjaws have a lot of you could charge into a screen of ghouls, wipe them out, and then smashing and bashing to skip ASF on the Terrorgeist, and people figured out that you could tag a unit and then pile into the Terrorgeist to dodge ASF. So it was sort of coming out, but they got hit. They sort of got hit really
They
hard.
got double nap. They got their kneecaps taken. It's the same with
Yeah.
what happened to Slanesh. Slanesh were in the same problem. Their first book, they
Mhm.
were really, really strong. Then things came out that kind of dealt with
Yeah.
them. Then they got an FAQ change, which took their literally snapped their knees. And then the next FAQ in the GHB, the last GHB, they got their teeth put in the carbon crush.
Yeah.
'cause
Well,
they got-
also similar with Feck, right? Like you lost the ability to stack command points.
Yep.
Which was a big thing of the list. Shooting became more of a thing. Eventually, we got like the malign, whatever.
Yeah.
Those old artifacts, doppelganger cloak got removed.
Yeah, I think when they got rid of them, I think a lot of armies could have had their points reduced.
Yeah.
Because they were the actual problems of the game. Was
for sure.
the realm
Like
lords.
right? No longer having an ethereal vampire lord.
Yep.
Some
It's
of
a
them are
big,
just
big
massive force multipliers right now for big monsters.
Think about Lens of Refraction when it first came out.
Oh,
Think
yeah.
about if that was still in existence now when Techless is a thing. Because again, that's always where they play tested together. So was Techless totally, or Croak, was Croak totally fine when they play tested it because they're like, oh yeah, the Lens of Refraction makes you take D3 less mortal wounds from magic. That would protect you now. But again, now every army that comes out has a 4+ ignore spell effect or
Power creep is definitely a thing.
I just don't like things that stop you being able to do what your army does. Like
Yeah, I do think
the Fox definitely
You
a problem.
need the hard counter though, don't you? If there's if you've got a hard counter to one type of army, then it dissuades people from playing that type of army. But generally, when you have got that hard counter, you're open to a lot of other crap from other armies, aren't you?
Yeah,
But
I don't think
happens?
Sorry.
What happens with the scenery piece thing the Fox does? What armies does that actually target except
Gits.
armies
Crush
that
Gits.
armies that play
they're
that
overpowered.
aren't strong? That the Regent Feck one, because if you went first and turned that off, they all of a sudden can't summon for free. You've got was it 80 points you pay for the scenery piece?
You just have to screen it properly though, don't you?
Yeah, it has to finish within 1 inch. I do think a problem with
Doesn't it move 40 inches for turn
yeah,
one?
he moves 12 million inches, but you can screen off 1 inch. He still can't land within 3. I do think a bit of a thing that's happening with the Lumineth Realm Lords is like obviously the way GW like tease them is they're like, here's this rule, here's this cool rule, here's this cool rule, and people are like, I can't play against all of this. And then when it happened with the first Lumineth Realm Lords, they're like, all this stuff is busted. And then the list come out and they're fine because everything costs a certain amount of points.
Fit in the list.
It doesn't fit. Yeah. People are like, how do you play against Techless if he automatically casts? And it's like, well, you just beat the army because it's not that good.
From playing the first book, I think it does have its weaknesses. Techless as a model definitely have weaknesses. But his weaknesses are slightly then covered within the new lore, allowing the army before was really slow.
Yeah,
but then they gave them a teleport and a
heal. Do we need more teleports in the game?
I think they should go away. I would, or do what they did to 40k, where you couldn't do it in your opponent's territory turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, can't do it in your opponent's territory. I would like to see a game-wide restriction on the way teleports can use, because at the moment it's just sort of the 9 inches. Some armies have the board edge thing.
Yeah.
I would like.
But if you squeeze the table, there's going to be less opportunity to teleport as well, isn't there?
Tell that 40k because they still don't have the problem. But then if you have an army then that's moving like eels 14 inches, that means they don't have to care at all because you're not going to be as far away.
Yeah,
you can't deploy as deep from them. Or armies they don't have to worry about reaching.
Yeah, I don't know how much the smaller table would help, but yeah, I don't like teleports. I think things like teleports, also ASF when it was more of a thing, I think these are cool mechanics, and now we're seeing don't pile in. I think they're super cool mechanics to have in the game on a couple armies. So you play versus Flesh Eater Courts, and you're like, oh yeah, they have ASF. That's their thing. You play against KO or Stormcast, right? You used to play against Stormcast. You're like, they've got that thing where they can start off the board and teleport on. Super cool Stormcast thing. Now you go in and you're like, every army has a teleport. And it's just...
There you go then. How much factions don't have an ability to either deploy differently, or would it be Nurgle? No, Nurgle's even got the Gut Rop, don't they? They've got him as well. Yeah, so every army I think in the game has
and Nurglings can be deployed on scene. Forget them little buggers.
But like the amount of armies that can't turn 1 threat you, Like you deploy on your back line, the amount of armies that like can't hit you is very small, and it's like that. It seems to, like for me, the movement phase is the most skill intensive part. Like how you move your models is the hardest part of Age of Sigmar. I don't think like target selection is not necessarily that difficult. People often know like what they have to kill.
Kill the big thing. Kill the characters. That's it.
Yeah, shoot the heroes. But when you remove a lot of that with this teleporting stuff, you just cover, especially teleporting multiple times per game, you cover so many weaknesses. Like a big thing when I play against KO is it's often like, oh, look, this guy's not in a very good position. But it's just like, it doesn't matter. You're like, well, then the next turn he can be anywhere on the board. Yeah. And I know you can screen. It like the screening game is interactive, but as the game goes on, you
only have so much models unless you have stupidly cheap units.
And so that's like teleports are really good in turn 1 where you can dictate like how the game starts. And in turn 5 when you're like, oh, I can take any objective I want. Like I think a cool part of AoS is in that turn 5. You're like, I've got one more gas left, and they've got 3 chain rasps. Like, how do I play this out? Whereas it like you play versus all these automatically teleporting armies, and it's like, well, I know I can go here, here, and here. Like it doesn't matter. I can have ignored the objectives for turns 3 and 4 and just fought, because on turn 5 I can be wherever I want. You don't need to be sort of thinking ahead and be like, well, I would like to kill this unit, but I need to be able to score in the next turn. So I think they take away so many teleports, take away a little bit from skill expression in the game.
Well, it fixes errors so much.
Yeah.
It means you don't make errors in deployment. Some armies don't even have to worry, because if they know they're going first, they don't even have to really deploy. They just put their models down and go, oh yeah, I'll pick up my models.
Yeah, loads of armies. You know, again, Deepkin don't even necessarily have to deep strike to do it. Where they're just like, well, I move 17 inches, and then I can, +6 to my charge and all this stuff, and you're just sort of like, they're like, I'll just deploy on the back line because I can be anywhere I want to be. And again, that's fine if a couple armies, that's their thing. You're like, oh shit, yeah, Deepkin are super fast, that's crazy. But it's just becoming more and more of a thing everywhere in the game at the moment.
Oh well, I don't mind it. I think it's all right. I like teleport, but then I've got a load of KO boats there sitting right next to me.
I've muted you, Stu,
I used to love my Legion of Night. I mean, I don't mind not being able to teleport, but having that flexibility to come on where you want is...
Well, Legion of Night is on turn, like, deploy off the board, and you can come on at the board edge, and like... I think that is cool, right? You're like, okay, I got to deploy a bit differently versus Legion of Night. It's very different to KO, where you're just like every single turn. Also, it slows the game down like crazy. Every single turn, you got to measure 9 inches away from everything. And like 9 inches, again, used to be a big deal, right? 9 inches was like, okay, I could teleport and go for a risky charge. Now it's like, if you're KO, you're like, oh, I'm going to teleport to shoot you. Don't give a fuck. And so many armies are like...
I think if the teleport, like if boats had the teleport 10 inches away, and then heaps of their guns were 9-inch range, it would make sense, because then they're losing out by choosing to again. There's so much things.
Fumigator can't shoot.
There's just not.
If you're Zethlin, it can. But I don't know why like Fly High never used like Aether Gold. Like I think that's probably something that's going to happen. Like it's going to be a resource, and once you've spent it, there'll be a couple of ways to get it back, because it is silly just being able to teleport all over the table. But until then.
So you go Stu, Northern Invasion, you can use like your wind table units. Models can't fly high, turn 1 and 2. Chilling winds.
That's legitimate comp.
Yeah.
So there you go. Then there's a hobby update with a little bit of a digression. So events. We just said there about Northern Invasion. So the easing of lockdown has commenced. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel, and the UK tournament scene. There's a glimmer of hope that we're going to actually get a 2021 season. So we've had 3 events announced in the last few weeks. I think they're all sold out.
Yeah, it's all out like 5 minutes each, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got Lost and the Damned at the end of July, hosted by Scott, who's joining us in about an hour, I think. No, half an hour. He's coming a little late. So he's got one at the end of July. Then Onslaught from Mark Roberts is back October. Is that right? That's sometime in October, isn't it?
I love. I have no idea. Just as soon as people were like, "We're having an event," I was like, "I have bought tickets."
We're all
I'll
going, yeah.
And like, I was like, "I'll deal with when it is later."
It's the beginning of October, I'm pretty sure. And then Northern Invasion, our annual one, is going to be the last weekend in November. And yeah, all three have sold out. We don't 100% know what capacity is going to be and what physical distancing is going to be, but at the moment, everything's erring on the side of caution, I suppose.
Yeah.
Even so, we haven't got a massive venue in Scotland, so it's still a push. The last Northern Invasion we had, I can't even remember how many we had. It wasn't many though, was it? 28 or 30 or something, and that meant that we had 2 tables per row instead of 4 tables per row, just to allow the space between tables. But anyway, hopefully we don't need such big distances. We'll probably need masks and things still, but I don't give a hoop if it means I can come play games, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's
Honestly,
nice.
I think the biggest thing I found when we, with sort of the, whatever the last event was when we were allowed to play, was I didn't mind playing all day with a mask, like, at all. It didn't bother me. But not like, I think what was less fun was that you can't go out afterwards and, like, just go to the pub and all this stuff. I think that's more what made me a bit sadder. So I guess if things are a bit more open, I wouldn't mind wearing a mask if we can, go sit outside at a pub or see, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we went to the pub afterwards, but right enough, it was just 2 households maximums at tables. So
yeah. It's just a bit of a different.
It was a bit challenging. But yeah, well, anyway, it's a step in the right direction. So when did you last play a game with a real person that wasn't on a computer, Liam?
Last August with John.
I feel bad.
A game I was beaten in 2 turns. I had literally just slapped him out.
Perfect. See you again next year.
I had 2 hours of sweaty frustration of not being able to do anything and get my models taken off the table. So John had a game. I watched.
Yeah. See, I've been.
Before that, it was Fall of the Old World in March.
Yeah. No, I've been lucky, as people have said. I mean, well, lucky to the extent that I live alone, so it has had
that is lucky.
Yeah, us war gamers have different definitions of lucky, don't we?
I mean, who'd have thought that becoming a bachelor and getting divorced at my age would have such a good perk in that I now get to play Warhammer every week.
Hey, look, you're living your best life.
Yeah, that's it. It's been really good. No, it has actually. It's been really good to have a weekly game. I think it's kept me sane, and we started doing the battle reports and things, which was good. I think we started doing that around about August in the lockdown, because we had these household bubbles, and our club was shut, so I had a spare room in the house, and the idea was to do that, and we decided to start up the YouTube channel, since though we weren't really doing much in the way of podcasting. Initially, because we're on an island, we could still have people in, so for the first few months we played a few different people, but then when the restrictions came into force again towards the back end of the year, I have a household bubble with Eric, thankfully, so it means that we get to have our weekly game. So that's been good. And hopefully things will open up again, so we'll get a few more people to play. I'm going on a tour, playing 10 different Patreon supporters in July. Probably in the run-up to Lost and the Damned. That'll be when it'll be. I'm taking my table and my lab lights and recording instrument thingy, and we're doing I'm doing a tour with the chicken dog around Scotland, playing people. So,
around Scotland, like some of your international patrons might object to that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think
I live right next to Warhammer World. That's all.
Yeah, I think Nicola objected to me coming down there. He's building a wall. It's like that wall that Trump built. So there's a wall going to be built to keep.
And we'll make Leamington pay for it.
Exactly. So yeah. So that's that. So what about yourself though? There's been some good news for you, hasn't there, Nathan? What have you been doing today?
I got to play Warhammer. It was so good. I know. In the back garden to the left of me, somebody was getting like a pergola or something built. So there was like 3 burly workmen looking over the fence. And then to the other side, my neighbours who probably didn't know how much of a geek I was, looking through the fence as. But no, it was good just to.
They're
actually...
just like, I can't believe you would deploy like that.
Yeah, like who'd have thought?
Schoolboy error.
Painting skills
The
are
burly guys are
horrendous.
like that. Oh, shit.
Where are his models'
Phil, look
fucking
at
eyes?
I don't understand why his fence is painted grey. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly. My fence isn't painted. That's it.
Nathan's house is 3-color minimum.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I got to play Warhammer. I
That's
was playing the young but shockingly old-looking Mark Roberts. It was good. He played as Iron Jaws. I played Bellicor and Kairos. So
I read that. You're like, first game back.
He was the bad guy
for a couple of years. I'm just really glad to be back. You know, playing against my friends, immediately losing them.
Take his head off, shit down his throat. That's it.
Mark Roberts was like, I could wait another 2 years to Warhammer.
He's still
again.
weeping in the back garden.
He is. He's not left. Like he's still sitting outside in his car, listening to the Bridget Jones soundtrack.
The builders from next door are just like, look,
Yeah,
it wasn't
just
your fault.
comforting him. Yeah, even though he deployed badly, he did have Bellicor and Kairos.
He's
But
got
no,
the ability to teleport for, doesn't he? So he's all right, you know. He can fix that.
I was saying to you earlier, Stu, like you obviously won't be able to appreciate it, but just being able to catch up with mates after, like, my last game was a bit less than Liam's. Liam, look forward to getting your Bellicor on the table because
I might not get to play him before he gets changed.
I know you need to make an effort to
I'll
do
be
it.
a narrative player and play the old rules. I'll be like, oh yeah, just
The
play
old world.
Yeah.
Get him on a square. You'll be right.
No,
We've got
Get him on
Vegas
square.
tomorrow. No, it should be good.
it was
How big's the new one? Have we any ideas yet, or is it all just guesstimates?
It looks the same size as a
Bloodthirster.
Bloodthirster.
It
Yeah.
looks
It looks
a
like
lot like a
Scarbrand.
Bloodthirster,
It looks like
to be honest.
Scarbrand's body, pretty much.
Yeah. Is he on a oval like a Thirster, or was it
No,
round?
he's Scarbrand base, 100 mil, isn't it? But it looks to be 100, maybe a 120. But it looks like the Keeper of Secrets base size, to be fair. He looks amazing. I think we're just waiting for rules to come out. Is the
Yeah.
I thought he might. I sort of wish there was a little bit more sneakiness to him. I don't know. He just does. He looks a lot like a Bloodthirster to me.
yeah.
He's got jacked
I
during
hope-
lockdown.
Yeah, I just hope that his rules. I hope his rules match the model. I know they always say they do that, but let's be honest, Bloodthirsters hit like a wet paper bag. To be fair,
The Insensate Rage one can do all right.
Yeah, he can go boom boom.
but he can't survive anything, and
No.
that's what I think everyone hopes that
4 up
Bellicor
stage
does.
trash.
I can guarantee that nobody hopes Bellicor can survive.
No.
But again, if his ability is still just a one-hit thing, then does it matter?
They'll just make his ability now the whole game.
I think his abilities, because it mentions obviously in the short story we got from him, is that Bellicor plays the long game sort of thing. I hope he gets like a cumulative table, kind of like Doc, where he makes his army not be affected. So your opponent rerolls 6s to run turn 1. They reroll 6s
Right.
on charges
Oh my
on turn
God.
2. They roll 6s to hit, reroll 6s to hit on turn 3. Turn 4's wounds, turn 5 saves or something.
Not
That'd
only
be
does it
amazing.
speed the game up, but everybody loves it.
Yeah,
I
I
don't-
just hope his new rule doesn't make everybody rage quit.
Oh,
Well,
well,
it's
the
not-
thing
it's
is,
not gonna
it's the
turn
same
off
people who
scenery.
rage quit every single time.
I
Don't
know,
worry
yeah.
about it. They always come back and quit again.
know.
I was enjoying. I was,
They quitted.
I was in the Daughters of Cain chat, and a lot of people were quitting the game over Lumineth Realm Lord releases.
Yeah,
Like, it was one of
also
those things
the
where I'd see the
FAQ.
new chat messages, and I'd be like, "Wait, is this the Lumineth chat or?"
I thought it was the FAQ as well. They didn't like.
Oh yeah, there were some. I think, but it was. I think maybe it was
priest
just the Lumineth stuff that pushed them over the edge.
The priest
Didn't
change
Dark
makes
come out
sense.
all right with the FAQ though. Didn't Marathi
No,
get again?
Marathi got back to what the Broken Realms book did.
they changed
Dude.
the prayers.
They changed how prayers work for them, but how hard would it have been? As I've said before, they go do the Corn FAQ at the same time. They do all the folk that have prayers and just do them all once and go, by the way, this is the fix for all priests.
I do think there's a little bit of a window or opportunity of like some like going back to the roots of AoS of generic rules. Like, you know, Sons of Behemoth can step over whatever, like they came out and it was like, oh, you can step over endless spells, and then they fact it to be like you can now step over the corn things as well.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like you could be like, look, Sons of Behemoth can step over
Anything.
These summoned models, you know, like, or you know, like, it feels like we have these really great 4-page rule set, and over time we're building on it into more complicated rules, which is cool. But I feel like we could do with a little bit of a reset at some point where it's like we've streamlined it down a bit. Now this is sort of, you know, maybe let a little bit, you know, the game's going to get crazy again for a little bit.
Wizard level 1 is this.
Yeah, exactly. Like
sort of thing,
you know,
yeah.
But any monster or behemoth should be able to, because you know what it was like. It was, remember the thing when people used to just take the shackles and throw them around a stonehorn, so the stonehorn stuck there for the whole game.
What do you think I tried to do today against Mark with Warp Lightning Vortex and the Maw Crusher?
Oh my god!
But no,
that makes sense for in other ways. Like that makes sense because the idea of
that's why the
shackles
Mega Gaga. If you've only got 5 models on the table, then really
I think they should be able to kick endless spells.
Your army.
Oh, kicking endless spells would be fun.
I think that's what they should be able to do, is like pick them up and throw them. That would have been cool.
Or eat them. It'd be good if one of them could
Well, the Mage Eater should be able to do that.
I think also we maybe could have seen a little bit more, just a little bit more diversity in what endless spells do, right? Because the endless spells have come out, and there are a bunch which have sort of like the specific rules, and then there's sort of a handful of damage dealing ones that just no one plays. Like you rarely see Pendulum, you never see Ravanax gnashing mouth.
You did when you were allowed to play 7 of them, but because you're not allowed to play 7 anymore, that's.
But like,
but do you think that the original box is still going to exist at AoS 3? Because it's not for sale anymore, is it?
Well, no, I don't think so, because.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's kind of what Teclis is, because he wants to stop that. He wants to stop the Soul Wars. That's his idea.
Is it the Soul Wars? What gave us endless spells?
Well, actually, that's because the Soul Wars happened due to the Gash's Pyramid falling. I wouldn't actually say it's even spoilers, because it said actually in the.
I thought the Necroquake was what gave us like the second round of endless spells.
That was the second ones. That was the shards and the.
It was Nagash.
Nagash's Black Pyramid fell at AoS 2 because that was the story, wasn't it?
I don't actually know, so I'm just.
Because then that's when he summoned his new Mortarch, which was what's her face, the one that nobody plays, Alinda.
Not a real Mortarch.
Not a real Mortarch. She hasn't done anything. It's one of those things that I agree. She hasn't done anything. Like, she's terrible in game.
She's done her best, Liam.
She lifts up her skirt on the regular.
Yeah, she lifts her veil now and again, you know, just a sneak peek, you know. But Alinda, in my opinion, story-wise, was really poor.
Ooh, did I just clean my paintbrush in my drink?
To the Legion of Grief player here. Who's
sorry. I just said
he's about to go weep.
I cleaned my paintbrush in my juice.
It's your tears over Alinda. That's all it was.
Yeah, just
raging.
But then, like, see, that was in my opinion, that was a cop out. Oh, we'll just make this Legion of Grief because we didn't release. They should have just re-released in the Legion of Gash book at that point.
Yeah, they obviously have plans though, because Bone Reapers, Nighthaunt, and Gravelords is kind of
just where killed the Legion.
Does that
mean JP? No one can take the Legion, the Gash title from me.
Oh yeah, whoa! I hope so.
Nobody will be able to get a win rate because
absolute griefing.
Absolutely griefing. Yeah. Finally, I can keep the badge forever.
That's it.
So it is a quick question then. If we're not talking about spells going, I think they will go. Just as a, I don't think
endless spells will go entirely.
No, I think just the generic first batch.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we might get more, but they're not in production anymore. And the thing is, some of them are so powerful that it's not really fair for new players who can't get hold of these things. And I don't know.
You've obviously never played a game which has a reserve list.
Oh, hang on. Oh, look at this.
Hello.
There you go.
Oh, hello.
Joined us on the
That's
steps.
Welcome to the amphitheater.
Look at you with your fancy backgrounds.
Yeah, go on, you can do it. It's a new feature. Just
What do
click
I
on
do?
it.
Do you want me to show him?
What do you do?
no.
The amphitheater.
No. We'll
Can I
end
show
up
him?
getting censored.
I sense danger. Danger ahead.
He's been putting sex toys on his background and leather clad.
Sex toys. I thought it was just
Batman.
his new model, Belcor.
What else am I meant to do with my Windows picture gallery if I can use it as my backgrounds?
You mean I can't keep my cool synthwave LED background?
Oh, it's looking pretty good. No, you stick with that. Don't worry about it.
And what's
I'm
this
still
for?
looking at everybody in the amphitheater. Is that only me?
That's
Ice
only
Cube,
you.
is that?
Yeah,
Ice
you
Cube
can
is
show
on
me.
that.
Yeah,
Why?
you're in like a
Together mode.
Funkesque.
Yeah, I'm in the front row.
I'm
Yes.
looking at all of us, yeah, in the fucking amphitheater.
I don't understand why the tall. Yeah, I don't know why Scott, as tall as he is in the front row, because that just ruins the view for everyone behind him.
Hang on,
in
I'm
front.
gonna have to do this
I
now
look
for
like
the
a
people
midget
who are
as well.
watching. Hang on, let me just put that on so that everybody can see it. What you're talking about. There we are.
There's no sleeves, Stu.
I know, yeah. I was gonna get changed and I totally forgot. I was wrestling with technology.
Oh, I can just click
issues.
this. All right, now I'm looking at grid view. Now I can just see normal people. This is so much better.
Nah, the steps is better.
Just
Right, there we go. That should be us back. So yeah, we're hopefully going to be able to do this as a visual thing as well. JP keeps just disappearing in his street. Every time he leaves over, his hair becomes one with the background.
God, England's changed, isn't it? Lockdown.
So we've not gone too far. We've done our hobby update. Do you want to give us yours briefly? What have you been up to?
I'm sure Scott's going to say probably not.
Hobby update.
Have you been buying stuff? Oh, he's building. Oh, dock filth.
Oh, I've got a cabinet full of them.
Yeah, I've got about 4,000 points getting assembled here. So
Away.
Free to 4 points or free to?
3. No, it's several armies, several things that come together over the last few years. So as good a time as any to try and push it forward now. So that's really all I've been doing. Kind of, I built some Alpha Legion, Horus Heresy stuff. That's for a different podcast.
Right.
waited an hour to hear about Horus Heresy. Thanks a lot, Scott.
Yeah, and I've changed my hobby around. I've got a new chair. You can't quite see it, but it doesn't squeak
Where's the
anymore.
loft hatch? Where's the loft hatch?
The loft
That's
hatch.
what
Oh,
Rob
that's
was
upstairs.
Oh.
Sneaky peek of the hatch.
Is this your front room?
Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
just moved it around, so I've got a bit more space. Got a cabinet up here, so you can see some models in there.
Oh, is it not in the
Ooh,
conservatory
yeah,
anymore?
Ooh, no, this is a third one.
Oh, nice.
Oh boy.
So yeah, it's been good. But yeah, haven't painted anything since August last year. It occurs to me, so that's the next step in the ladder.
Nice. So the
you mean
next
the night
question
before the night before Onslaught or something will be your.
Yeah, I love how everyone was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see the armies people have painted for like the first event after lockdown. It's still just going to be all of us at 2 a.m. like, oh man.
Yeah, well, it was Onslaught last time. That was the
I spent lockdown building a Star Wars Legion army and painting it, and Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff. So that's where my lockdown time went. So yeah. So the question we were asking there was, at the moment, if there was an event next week, what list would you take? So
That wasn't the question, or is that just you jumped onto
that's
that?
a question for you. I'm asking you. There is a thing on the schedule.
I did
So-
see it. I
Yeah,
didn't-
you see,
it
we're
was
organised.
like a pack. I didn't read it properly.
We're a well-oiled machine.
I never read the pack for this either.
I
I'm
can
gonna
see.
I'm gonna start with you, Nathan.
Wow,
JP's just gonna plug into Listbot now, and that'll tell him what to take. You can
Tell me what
share
all of you are going
Like,
to take. That's
well,
the good part.
I would take
Yes.
a mixed gits list with a
Wait.
Trog Gargan.
Wait a second.
No, I would probably Snakes and Marathi. Looks
Yeah.
fun. Yes, I've not got an actual list. Do you want me to build an actual list? Because I can do it on the fly.
No, just talk around the general.
I can do it on the fly.
Just talk around the general sort of like shape of it and what's it gonna do? Well,
okay. So it's got Marathi. Marathi does Marathi things, and then it's got some shooting snakes that can shoot twice and make people cry twice as much, and then some combat snakes that can run 2d6 and charge, and then some harpies to just come down and win objectives when people forget they're in the sky.
I did that last game like that.
Don't they still have to come down early now? Or are they?
So, yes and no. So Keltnar is one of the new temples, and the general in Keltnar can summon some harpies if she's alive.
Oh.
And you don't need to summon those in the first battle round or by a certain battle round. So technically they could be summoned in turn 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5. But yeah, the other ones need to be down like in turn 3 at the latest, like all the other kind of summoning. But yeah, no, I think Doc looked pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just built a whole bunch of them. So, and I just had this moment when Scott held up his snake and I'm building KO, and I was going, could I convert some snakes to be on KO gunships and have snakes on a plane? And just, like, green stuff a Samuel L. Jackson onto the front of the ironclad.
No, I've never seen that film yet. I need to watch that.
Oh, you've not
I
lived.
feel like I'm missing
You
something.
really don't know what to watch that.
I remember watching it thinking it were going to be great. Years and years.
Yeah. You just saw the title Snakes on a Plane, and you're like, this is it.
Yeah, I've never watched.
How many times have you seen Sharknado, Stu?
Yeah, no, I've never actually seen it.
I've never seen it either.
I remember
mind
for media studies doing. So I did like obviously you have to like create your own film and poster and things like that. I actually did Britney Spears on a train, which was supposed to be the alternative to it. My tag was leave Britney alone on the train.
They're so
Why
cool.
have we not seen this? Why did this not get
Madness.
Was that a thing? No, she wouldn't have signed up to the contract, unfortunately.
she was a bit mental, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going through some tough times.
Yeah.
So what about you then, Liam? What's your you going to an event next week? What list are you taking?
I'd probably take a Nurgle. I'd probably take like 60 Plague Bearer. I'd probably try and do 60 Plague Bearers, Grit and Clean one, Sloppy Bill Piper, Scrivener, 9 drones, and probably 10 Plague Bearers. I think I still fit in that list, sort of thing. Probably just go for something like that. Just trying out the 2 new heroes. 9 drones seem good again, slightly. Hard to fit in the Holy Within 14, but I find that the 2 new scrolls are obviously quite defensive, which still makes Nurgle quite. They have to hold themselves back slightly, just because obviously all the plague drone weapons and all that are 1 inch, so you haven't really got much reach to hit things. But
Liam on drones, is this 2018 again?
yeah,
I've
only got 6 at the
You
moment.
with the stacking the command points onto
Yeah.
the.
I missed that. 17 command points into the Great and Clean One's command ability.
Thought he had big dick energy until he played Donald, and he was stacking like 600 attacks on a unit of Grots.
No,
It was
damage, 600 damage.
doubling damage, yeah.
Yeah, he
doubling
doubled damage
damage,
8
yeah.
times against me. And that was.
It was madness. No, that's pretty good. I was a bit put out. I mean, spoilers. There aren't really spoilers. People want to hear about the bloody story in Broken Realms. So I was a bit put out because I read. You know, okay.
Scott leaves the chat.
I'm going to just take my headphones off now.
I was a bit put out because, like, I was all for the Act 2, which is all about the War of the Mortarchs, yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop. We'll talk about it next
I was being serious.
when people have when people have had a chance to read it. But anyway, needless to say,
The gash dies. Oh, no.
the fight between Nurgle and Manfred. Nurgle and Manfred and the Legion of Night, my favoured Legion, left a bitter taste in my mouth.
Did they not do the 200 mortal wounds that they do in game? Was it just a weird mismatch?
244 potential mortal wounds per round.
Potential damage of all my stats is my favorite one for people to talk about when they're comparing models. They're like, I don't know, this one just has the potential to do, you know, like 71 wounds, whereas this one's only like 41. And I'm just like, there we go. That's the positive energy we need in the scene, right?
That was the
It's
whole
just being
reason
like,
I took Nick's death to the Masters that year.
I just loved asking you after every game.
It was the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist with Red Fury and that sword that used to do D6 mortal wounds.
What does Red Fury go off on to do?
Yeah, okay. It went off once. It went off once in all
I
of the
just
game.
remember after every game being like, how many mortal wounds was it this one? You were like, oh yeah, 4. So
yeah, 4. It was so bad. It was so bad.
Mixed
I
death
for
did well
once
in
that
event,
it came
though.
alive, and it was good. Poor Adam Rawson. And Adam, I'm his nemesis according to Listbot, because every time he plays me, I beat him. And it was the one time that the mortal wounds went wild, and it ripped an Alariel a new one, and just killed her outright in one round of combat. And the worst thing was, because it was Adam, I thought, well, he's not that bothered. And so Howard had come with me, like my daughter, and I said, oh, you can roll the dice. So the small child, rolls the dice, and then
she's
rolls
like, is
the
this
Red
good?
Fury dice. It goes up again, and she just absolutely minced Alariel. It was glorious. Sorry,
No
Adam.
mercy.
No mercy. That's
Usually
where she
you were
got the
doing
taste
when
for
you
it.
start to roll the dice.
Oh, that's where she got the taste for it. I remember at one tournament, I said to her, and I had to roll the dice for something to happen. And I said, if you roll a 2 6s, I'll buy you a pony. I rolled it, and I was like, oh, fuck. And like, there was like a room full of really drunk men howling at me. And they've never let me forget. But I bought a Dawn Riders, so that kind of makes
Yeah,
sense.
kind of. I remember at whatever the doubles event was, John Harper was like, he was my doubles partner, and he was like, should I charge the Gaunt Summoner into this magma drop, try and do 1 wound in melee with it, and then roll higher than his bravery to kill it in 1 shot? And I was like, no. You don't just throw away your Gaunt Summoner. You know, he's a good guy. John was like, okay, so I'm gonna send him in. We're agreed. And I was like, yeah, okay, we're agreed, I guess. And he just sends him in. And then I'm doing something else on the other side of the table, and John's like, yeah, take him off. And I'm like, wait. He's like, yeah, I rolled the 11 for the bravery, rolled the 5 and the 4 to hit or whatever. I was just like, oh man.
This reminds me of at the Six Nations in Derby with you. When you were saying, if I get paired against Death and against Nagash, and I don't care, I'm doing Curse of Years on him, and everyone's like, no, it's a really bad idea, and he's like, no, I'm doing it.
Actually, in retrospect, what worked out about that was back when the Changeling could steal anybody's weapon. I just hit Nagash with his staff, and then used a Destiny dice for the damage, and so I did 6 damage plus a couple other wounds, and then killed him in the next turn. So it actually worked out. I actually should have ignored sort of the Hand of Dust part and just gone full on, used all my Destiny dice to do the melee damage to Nagash.
But you did it for the content.
Yeah, I did it for the content.
Also, then you're the one to blame for Tony Moore then playing Chain Shows for like a year.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It was glorious. Somebody whispered to me, he's doing it. It's going to happen. And then the whole team sort of shuffled over to the table.
Watching on the table. I still picked the. Also, I love, shout out to Tony Moore. He could roll, as long as he rolled a 10 or higher, he could dispel the spell, even on a 12. And because I cast it on a 12 with my Destiny dice. So he rolled a 6 and a 4, but the 6 was on terrain. And so he didn't even say a single thing. He just picked it up and re-rolled it immediately. And I was just like, whoa, what a cool customer. It's just pure sportsmanship. I thought it was very impressive. And obviously it intimidated me enough to pick the wrong hand. I've never guessed, including that one time that I cast it, I have never guessed Hand of Dust correctly. I've lost Arcan. I've lost 3 Feck Dragons. I've lost multiple things. My Spirit Torment, my General in my Legion of Grief list, all this stuff, never guessed Hand of Dust correctly. Where are the stats on that list, Bot?
Yeah.
I think I've killed quite a lot with Hand Dust.
Yeah.
Easily.
You're at highest ranked Legion Grand Host in the
Oh,
game.
yeah.
I am.
Highest win rate. What a pumper. You get titles for that now.
Yeah.
Was that does that include Legion of Sacrament play in that as well, or?
It's just Grand Host.
It's just Grand Host.
You were shit at Legion of Sacrament.
Shut up. There you go. That's a talking example of
Negative
units
point.
deep striking on the board, Nathan, where I had to play you and I had to have to spend my units lining up around the board.
Oh yeah, that square. I remember
box
seeing the
of no
pictures of
fun.
that square.
Yeah.
That was so good.
So what about you then, JP? You go to an event next week. Obviously, your Trog army isn't finished.
Oh, my Trog army's not finished.
No, go on. Talk us through. What are you taking if you're going to an event next week?
So basically, I'm actually embracing the lockdown hobby-ness, and I just trying to do this sort of Gitz army. Got some converted models, got Scraggot, trying to do a good hobby job on it, and just get more into the painting side because I haven't played that many armies in AoS, and so like I started playing Nighthaunt when Nighthaunt first came out. Like I brought them to the event like on the weekend after they got released or whatever, and I wasn't that great at painting, and so they sort of looked fine. And then I played like Legion of Sacrament, and then Legion of Grief, and I played Flesh Eater Courts, which I sort of quickly painted for Six Nations. And so like I sort of had my Legion of Grief army essentially for multiple years. And whenever I'd buy a new unit for it, I didn't paint it particularly well because I was like, well, it's got to go with all the other shitty looking models. So I'm sort of embracing for this new army. I'm embracing like trying to sort of push my hobby skills while I'm painting it. So yeah, for me it would be it's sort of mixed gits. I got some Trogs, I got some Squigs, I got some Grots, I got the big spider. So I got a little bit of everything. Really a hobby army. And I figured this is the time, right? As soon as I lose one game with Grots, I'm gonna be like, bring the change host back out of the cupboard. Like fuck this. I'm never painting another model again. Yeah, triple black coach.
If you lose, it's because you've not got enough black coaches,
Hey, look,
and you've only yourself to blame.
I felt
No
good.
course, Cat.
The one of the titles for Nighthaunt on Listbot is Coach Master. So is that actually the word? What do you call someone who drive? Like, is Coach Master a word? I thought it was,
Coachman?
and then afterwards, Coachman. Oh yeah,
Driver.
Driver.
That was like that thing you
What's
said to me the
driver?
other day. What is it that you call family trees? Like you're a
yeah.
historian, you must know. And I was like, family tree.
And then I just Googled it and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking of. I just remember, I just like those cool picture ones, so
Yeah.
I thought there would be a fancy name for them.
Ancestral tree.
Oh yeah, see, you could have said that, Nathan.
I could have, but yeah.
So what about you, Scott?
Well, I'd be tempted by new Nurgle as well, because there's the power up from a year ago when they got the
Yes.
Everchosen book.
Yeah.
I've not used Nurgle for a couple of years, obviously, so I'd be tempted to get that out, paint a wee bell piper and all that. But I've got my new
bell piper in that, or
I do. I don't even opened it. I built one of them. I think the other one's still in a box, but from the original release.
They're great models, aren't they?
What's that?
I just said they're great models, those little heroes.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're the best. One of the
There's
best kits.
Yeah, they're up there.
I'll be tempted by that, but I've also got the new Khorne Demon / Mortals army that the lovely JP painted for me. It seems like about 2 years ago now. But
Yeah, it does seem like a long time ago, doesn't it? We were like, we'll have it ready in time for this event. Lol.
So I've got like, I think there's about 2,500 points, a couple of options, not super top tier, but there's a kind of, I think I can do the Ben Johnson build roughly as once I've got a Scar brand that I need to finish, and there's a sort of mixed list as well. So one of those two, I think.
Yeah.
Shit.
I think I'd probably take my feck, just because I've enjoyed building and painting them and the good fun.
Have you got a full army done now? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched the videos and stuff, and I'm up to date fully with your work.
No, I've got it's yeah. I've got a couple of options. I was saying earlier, I've just bought that new Battle Force box thing that came out, the little one, that came out for Broken Realms with the Arch Regent, 3 more horrors, and another 20 ghouls.
Is that what's in that? I'll pay attention, to be honest.
Yeah, so I've got 40 ghouls and 6 more horrors and an Arch Regent to paint up. Just so I've got a lot more options. And I'm tempted to buy another couple of start collecting boxes as well, so that I can I can have the full monster army as an option as well.
Yeah, Flesh
Right.
Eater Courts, those start collecting are like start and finish collecting boxes, aren't they? They're so good value.
So good. I'm really liking Death again at the moment. I was saying that I've got this Easter weekend army I'm building at the moment, which is just an OBR 2,000 points.
Looks cool.
And I'm looking forward to playing that. Actually, that'll be a bit of fun.
That's a great little box, that one.
I'm looking forward to seeing you play that because that's got me interested in OBR.
I think it'll do all right. I do. I think it's a good list. I was saying earlier, Scott, it's 150 quid about retail, a bit under. If you go to a local gaming store and you've got the endless spells kicking about somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just 2 units to Death Riders and a Cavalos in the Lance formation, 20 more guard, and then Nagash with Spell Portal and the Purple Sun.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
It'll be a bit of fun, and I'm going to take them in Null Myriad. So
I was going to say, which one are you doing, right?
Yeah, so the Liege Cavalos has to take you -1 to hit him in combat, and you don't get to save or shrug. You don't get to save against his attacks, and you can't negate the wounds either.
Really? That's
because
quite
of the
cool.
Baleful Blade.
Still can't kill Marathi. Great.
And then on a 2+, they ignore the effects of spells or endless spells. And I thought that with
Isn't that 5+?
sort of
and then
like
it's-
shift towards some magic, it's quite good.
Yeah. I like it.
So that's something I'm looking forward to. I'm going to try and get it built. Depends how hungover I am on Monday. I'm going to try and do it on Monday. Well, yeah, we'll see.
Shit.
So yeah, that's mine. And then Listbot. JP, Listbot has evolved.
It has. I mean, the actual Listbot stuff. Oh wait, no, we haven't talked for 1,000 years. We haven't. It's been a while.
That's
great.
really
1,003.
So,
And you
yeah,
can share your screen if you want to show anything, and I think it'll work. There's now a facility on this machine to share
There's
screen.
stuff on this screen that nobody should ever see.
Pictures of Nathan.
Yeah, it's me using what I had in my
You don't want to look at
inbox.
You don't want to look at the custom backgrounds I put for all you guys. Let's see. Wow, that is fancy. How do I share my screen? Share screen?
Bottom. Whether or not you... Oh, there it is. It's
Happening. It's happening.
Oh, look at us. It's like,
Welcome to the future. Yeah, so I guess the biggest thing is this the lab, the list analyzer bot, which was like something that like sort of that I'd been envisioning since I started doing Listbot stuff, where I was like analyzing how many points Listbot thought a War Scroll should be and stuff like that. But basically, you just slap your list in here from War Scroll Builder, and Listbot just spits out a bunch of stats and this cool looking radar graph. And so you've got these things that I don't know if can you even see anything on here?
Yeah. Hopefully the recording takes it as well.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's good.
But yeah, so like your mobility, how much shooting you do. You can see this display. It's not fully equipped scientifically yet. You can see it's like, oh, you got a lot of casting in this Flesh Eater course list, which is true, right? Archregent casts 2 spells, Ghoul King casts 1, both Terror Guys cast 1. You've got a lot of spells. It's maybe not
Optimal.
What you associate with Flesh Eater Courts per se. And it gives you this breakdown. It's like Listbot thinks your list is worth 1724 points. Quite low here because it doesn't understand summoning. But
There needs to be an algorithm in there for Flesh Eater Courts lists. There's if no corpse cart, then
then just zero.
Needs to tell you that.
Zero.
Needs to tell you that.
And then it sort of gives you this score here. It's an A-, and it also gives you this precedent score, which is like what have similar lists, how have they performed at tournaments in the past, which is quite good because sometimes you can sort of trick Listbot. You spent, I think someone took like 5,000 Ungors or something, and it was like, this is a really good list. But then it was like, the precedent for this list is terrible. So, and then, we pop out a couple of these, like a couple stats, like here are some high synergies we see, and you can see them ticked off. Like, yeah, the Ghoul King is normally with Crypt Ghouls. You normally see an Archregent with the Ghoul King. You normally see the Crypt Gas Courtier with Crypt Ghouls. And and just stuff like that. I think maybe more fun than necessarily the sort of these sciencey parts, which is, I think, which is fun and cool to see and can help you like at least get like rough bearings of what your list does. Is I think it's reasonably useful. This stuff you can see similar lists that other people have built in the lab. And I think for me, what often would happen when I would play a new faction is I'd know like the net list. I'd know the one list that everybody plays at tournaments for that faction, but I wouldn't really know like how list building worked for the faction. I wouldn't know, like I sort of would like just wanted to see lots of lists from that faction to start getting an idea of like, oh, okay, everybody takes, plague bearers, or everybody takes demonettes. And so that's sort of why I built this tool. So here we can see similar lists to the list you built. You got these ticks for units that are matching.
Does that come from people who've inputted that for analysis, or does that come from events then?
So this, it is both. It does both. These, obviously, because I think there's like 50,000 lists have been analyzed now from the lab. Like
you only charged 10 pence.
If I charged 100 quid per time, it'd just be huge. But yeah, so when you look at similar lists, it's most likely to be lists from the lab because there's so many more. But you can also go to high performing lists, and this will give you lists just from events that have done well. So here you can see it's like this is a 0% match because it's nothing like the list you brought, but it's the Morgaunt list that James Tinsdale played. And look, he finished 3rd out of 80 players at this event, and here's his list. Here's another list that finished 3rd. Here's a list that finished 5th, and I just think that really gives you like just like a place to get started with list building when you're playing a new faction. You're like, what does it look like? You can look at this. We got this loadout analysis. So it says, look, okay, the most popular Grand Court is Blister Skin. The highest win rate Grand Court is Blister Skin. Gristlegore. Yeah, well, Gristlegore is just underneath, but it's just been, I guess, such a long time since the Gristlegore nerfs. And you can see here, like, okay, the most popular loadout options for the Arch region are the Dermal Robe. Most people, for +1 to cast. Making him the General, giving him Spectral Host. A lot of this stuff that, as someone who plays Flesh Eater Courts, I'm like, yeah, of course. But when you're first playing and you're presented with like 30 different artifacts from various things, it can be useful to just say, okay, I see. People are normally taking this one. So that when you're going to play your first game, you maybe just slap that one on there, and you're like, I'll look at them later. Like, I'll see what I think of it. And then we got matchup analysis as well, and this probably never that accurate because it's like, okay, Flesh Eater Courts has an 83% win rate versus Beasts of Chaos.
Everything.
But it's like, well, yeah, exactly. It's really good against Beasts of Chaos and Nighthaunt. You're like, perfect. But it can help you. You can be like, okay, well, how do I do versus KO? Because there's a lot of them, and you're like, oh yeah, pretty bad matchup versus KO.
Does that then update, like, so when a new book comes out, will that like go back to 0 sort of thing, or?
It's a thing that I'm working on is inputting all. So KO and Tzeentch are split into new book, old book.
Okay.
Very good. Yes.
So that makes sense, like you say, because points would change and.
Exactly. It's a totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different book.
Obviously, nobody played Flamers in the old book, but the new book, everyone's played.
Exactly.
Flamers, sort of thing.
So I want to sort of get the major patches, as you say, in. But yeah, and then so I got a bunch of info about the factions. You can go to whatever faction you want, and you can be like, we've got also this this thing that I've recently working on, which is the unit tier list. So Listbot basically looks at all the units, sort of like it used to do, and it comes up with these ratings. Again, take them with a pinch of salt, but they can get you going. You can be like, oh, okay, these I could try a list with these units. And then you can click on any of these, and it'll show you. Here's
the bottom ranked one in Gloomspite gets.
Squig Herder S-Class. Wow.
Skitterstrand Arachnarok, so the unmounted spider, and the Troggoth Hag are sadly in C tier.
Squig Herders are 70 points battle line.
And Quicksilver Swords, Troggoth
Hag. I was surprised at that.
I mean, the thing is, it does like. I think the Troggoth Hag is a good scroll that's just way too many points. Like, because a big thing that Listbot does is it compares, it basically breaks down the scrolls into components and compares them to other ones. And I think the Forge Word models are like pointed slightly differently. Listbot basically just looks at it and goes, I would expect this to be a lot cheaper than it is by sort of normal GW pricing, and it doesn't really understand the scrolls well enough to say, okay, this is worth or not worth its points. But yeah, that's basically. Oh yeah, and then we got this. We got some pages for like the top.
Yeah, go on, show us the players.
Oh wait, let's go to.
Let's go to Legion Knight.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of big players.
Are you on there?
Legion of Grief, Legion of Night, and where's Grand House of Nagash? Grand House of Nagash. So we've got Grand House of Nagash, top players. Liam Watt, 93% win rate over, I guess, presumably three events. Also, shout out obviously to Tony Moore again for playing the most games with his infamous Nagash. I guess we go to see if Liam can keep 93% up for another 40 games. I believe in you, Liam. I think you could get 87% win rate over another 50 games and still keep your rank 1.
I was looking at my background, and I think quite a few of my things, it's showing me not playing Legion of Night when I was.
Yeah, they should really. So if I click on Stu West,
65%. I call foul. That's bullshit.
Well, maybe you need to update some of your factions.
Maybe I need to update some. Yeah.
So like here it says you played Death. I don't know if you did. Oh, that is when you played Mixed Death.
Yeah, that was at the Six Nations.
I have added this now. You can just click on this little asterisk and change and insert whatever relevant faction it is.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so also it has some stats about you. It has your tournament results. It has these badges for the factions. You got Gold Mastery, Legion of Night, which is playing enough tournaments. Silver Mastery, Grand House of Nagash, and then Bronze Mastery for Sylvaneth and Legion of Blood. So that's just cool. You can go to your profile. You can see what types of factions do people like to play. And then we've also. Oh yeah.
No, sorry. Go back to Legion of Night. I want to see what I have to do here before Legion of Night becomes obsolete. Hang on, I'm going to change what I'm taking to this event next week now.
It's just this is just Legion of Night. You've already got the Gold Mastery. Don't worry about it. It's just two. Bronze Mastery is playing 2 events. Silver Mastery is playing 3 events, and Gold Mastery is playing 4 events with the same army. So it's basically putting your reps in, getting your experience. If you see a big circle here, you're like, I can probably ask them a question about Legion of Night, and they'd know the answer.
Cool.
But yeah, and then it's got your other good stuff. It's got the achievement rankings. I think that's also new since we last talked. Mike Callahan is top. Sad to see. The same. We got the achievements. Just a lot of fun things. You can go out. He's accumulated 50,000 kill points. That's populated automatically from TTS. So over your game, I think the only person I've seen with 100,000 is James Tinsdale.
He's probably got all the narrative ones as well because he's played Stormcast, and Stormcast is in every single narrative.
So yeah, we got a couple narrative things, mainly from the box sets. So like the Age of Sigmar box set with Stormcast versus Khorne. Mike's got that. Animosity, which is winning or losing a destruction mirror match. But yeah, just a bunch of achievements on here. These are some fun ones. Headhunting, so it's like finding and killing.
So I've got none of those.
Have you looked through them and actually got none?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got none. I think my profile is public as well. Actually, I don't know if many people know, but you can make your profile public, so you can probably check, Ryan.
I need to look at mine properly.
Yeah, I've looked at this for a while. This is amazing, though, and anybody in the world can do it.
Yeah.
And TOs are encouraged to use TTO, aren't they?
Yes.
Stu's not letting that phase him, though. But yeah, really, it's just I sort of just wanted it to be a good starting block if you're getting into new into AoS or new into a new army, that you can be like, okay, I can see all of these building blocks that people use for building these armies, at least in a basic way. And also you get an idea of also these players who then maybe you're like, oh, I'm gonna go follow Tony Moore on Twitter because he's been playing Grand House of Nagash for longer than anyone else, and I can because I think you maybe go to you ask your friends, you're like, I want to play Grand House of Nagash, and they're just like, oh, it's not very good. You know, it's not great right now. Maybe like I don't really know anything about it. I haven't played versus it, but you could go here and you could be like, this guy's been playing it literally every single season of AoS since it came out. He probably knows.
Laurie, 104 games with Sylvaneth.
Yeah, Laurie's played 104 games with Sylvaneth. Again, not stopping no matter like where they are in the meta. Oh, also I didn't show it, but there's also a page on there with the live updating tier list for factions. So yeah.
Hi.
Outside people. But yeah, so just whenever events get recorded on TTO or Bad Dice, like that tier list sort of just reflects the stats of our times. But yeah, well, I talked for a long time about Listbot.
No, Listbot's good. Listbot's evolving. Listbot's going to take over the world.
That's the dream.
I have dreams about Listbot.
JP, you need to lock Stu's account till he commits to using TTO for the next 3 years.
Agreed. Just ban him. Just take away his Legion of Knights.
Yes, take away his badges.
Take away his badges. But
Like,
it was actually on.
Promise him. Tell you what, use the carrot. Promise him a mixed death badge if he uses TTTO.
I'll fudge some stats for you if you.
only person to ever take mixed death to a Masters in Scotland.
I tried to take mixed death to the Masters.
You could have still taken them.
Broke it.
Um,
You could have taken them without the broken unit, you know.
that
You
unit
didn't have
wasn't
to take
good.
carry.
That wasn't even good. Anyways, let's not get into that. But it started from the whole Listbot thing started from Northern Invasion. Basically, we were like, we should add badges. We should have a Northern ranking site, and we should have badges for people on it. And I was like, that's a good idea. Let's do that. And then I was sort of there. I was like, what other fun badges could you do? And I was like, well, you could automatically find like who was the last person who won versus Lee and lost versus Lee, right? That could be fun. And then when I was doing it, I was like,
there isn't many people who have lost versus Lee.
What? He's my nemesis on it. It's like, I can't beat the man.
I was just like, there are so many like cool little tidbits of information that I would like to know about, like for myself, that I might as well just automate it for everyone and just put it on the internet, you know? And I think people have taken reasonably well to it. So
super cool. It's super cool. And when things kick into life again, it's just going to get better and better, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for as well.
I'm going to take the dog for a quick slash. And I can edit this section out, or you can talk really clever and exciting stuff about Sigmar, and I'll be back in a couple of minutes. She's looking at me like, if I don't take her, she's going to have an accident. Right. So, there you go, Scott. You can be daddy.
Well, yeah, here's a question that I have. I was talking to Liam about it. So now that I'm trying to paint this army up, I'm like, I want to try and win best painted. But what I was saying is, I was like, it's a bit sad that if you go to, like, I'll spend 12 million years on these trogs, right? I bring him to the event. Michael Hams turns up. He wins best painted, and you get nothing. You know, you're like, I might as well have been 3-color minimum. So I was like, all right, because I've been going a bit crazy. Nathan knows about this. I send Nathan about 200 messages a day about, I've got a sick idea. And they're just like, here we go. And I tell them, I'm like, you're right, it's terrible. Let's never do it. But I was thinking, like, what if, right? So you just have a painting section on the Listbot site. So when you go to an event, you can upload a picture of your army. And then we have then you can just look at like armies for the event on the painting section. You can, we tweet it out to the public or whatever. And people can just vote on the armies, like either 1 to 5 or vote them up and down. Probably not down. Just vote them up. And then
so
at the end of the
everybody
event,
around the world can tell you that Michael Hans is a better painter than you.
Yeah, exactly. But
your problem with that, though, as well, is your mates will still vote for you. Folk that you're popular online with
but at least you'll come out of the event and you'll be like, oh, okay, I was 10th.
Yeah,
I think we should go back to best painted in each Grand Alliance.
Do you know what? If you do it on the site, if you do it on the site, you could do it blinded and almost. You could take the names off it.
Yeah, you could.
If you're social, like if you're on Twitter all the time posting stuff,
but also it's sort of like it's already a little bit of a popularity contest, but there's only one prize. And if you do throw it out to Twitter, like you're going to get a more neutral. If you have, let's say like everybody at the event voted for me, like 39 people, but if you still get 500 votes, maybe that's a lot. But if you still get 100 votes, like from the internet, you'll outweigh like the 4 people who always vote for you at the event.
Yeah. Well, I'd probably run 2 prizes, to be honest. I'd probably run an internet prize and a.
I wasn't even imagining you change the price, so you'd still just have like best painted at the event. That'd be the same, but then afterwards you maybe keep some rankings or whatever, and you could be like, look, okay, you've never won best painted, but you've gone from finishing 15th to 10th over the year, so like nice progress. It just gives you a bit of like aim for painting, and I don't even think you'd have to do anything differently at the event. And it'd just be like, if you want your army rated, just slap a picture up on the internet. And then even if you're, you don't have to be like, I didn't even get nominated, but I thought I did quite a good job or anything like that.
It's the same with best sports, folk, because that you normally
we'll just
you always vote it, but you always vote after game 5, and if game 5 was good, the game 5 gets it. No, I can't. That sounds really harsh, but
no. I'm not sure I've ever given, unless it's someone I know. Like when I played Scott, I think at the Heats, like. I never give best sports to someone I played on day 1. Not because, like, unless it was, like, insane, like, we had, like, a crazy game. It's just, like, day 2, I'm like, oh, yeah, like, this game was really fun, so I'll give him best sports.
That's why I think we should go to, like, 5 points for your favorite game, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you just score them all.
That's actually a really good idea.
Because
although you might feel bad being like... Yeah.
But you're still getting that. But then, like, one person just doesn't vote you their favorite, but they still just put you in an order. It's the same idea of getting no sports votes, is it?
Yeah, true.
Because then someone's going to get, 25? There might be a few people on 25, and that, looks better. Yeah. But then it means people like Nathan, me, maybe you, JP. It's folk that are playing more competitive lists. We normally don't get the same unless people really get on with you in the first place.
Cunts need love too.
But that means we could actually be sitting with 20s, and then you're like, oh, it's actually not bad because I got 5 4s. It's just because I didn't get someone's best game. That's actually their second favorite game.
I just need I need some sports trophies. Sorry, I need to itch my back. Just while we're doing that, just Skywarden.
Liam, what you do? Are you on chaos stuff just now? Yeah, mixed chaos.
I accidentally
Ah.
I accidentally just cut off Kairos' arm. I
Wait.
was like, it's all right. I'll put the rod on so that he can be a Lord of Change if I need it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'll use the other arm. So I cut it off at the shoulder. Then I was like, shit, this arm's got a curve in it. And I'm like, oh, it's gonna go like through his head. So I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have to. So it's like now, like honestly, I'll send a picture. It's like a massive gap. I actually don't know where I put my phone. There it is.
Just put a big tentacle on, it'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Zinch, you're fine.
Zinch happened, you know.
Yeah. Put a Zangor head on it.
The arm of change.
Just size that gash. There you go. There's a massive gap in his pit.
Did you just upskirt your Lord of Change?
It's a shoulder grab. It's a shoulder. Look at the like chunk that I took out of the arm because I cut it off. I'm like, oh damn.
Oh,
It's bleeding like 4 places now.
Stu, I'll ask you as well. Just ask these guys. What would you think about if I can't tell if Stu's looking at me or something else?
He's looking at my background.
It was
That's
a
my thinking
expression
face.
there.
It's a good thinking face. Stu, what would you think if, for events, everybody uploaded a picture of their army to the Listbot site and people could vote on it? And you wouldn't use it for like best painted at the event or anything, but
How would you upload it?
Carrier pigeon in your case, but
I mean,
other people would use the
Stu,
internet.
you zoomed right out. What's happening here?
I've got no shoes on.
I suppose what you could do is you could have it that your event has a Twitter page or a Facebook page, and then you upload them. So you could upload a pool of here's all the Order armies
that
at the
like,
event. Here's all the Chaos armies at this event. And then the ones that get the most likes, please vote in the ones that get the most likes. I think it's easier on Facebook because likes is a lot easier on Facebook than hearts is on favorite photos.
Well, I'd be happy with. I mean, as myself, if I was running an event, I could take all the pictures and upload it myself. The TO can do it.
That's what Nathan said.
suggest.
That's what Nathan said. I sort of didn't want to put the onus on the TO.
It's
They
not
do
a problem.
nothing else.
You have to go around to look at the armies anyway.
They just
Yeah,
sit
yeah,
about.
yeah,
That's all TOs do, and they go.
Yeah,
They
You
ask.
can
They
ask
ask
the
Nathan
community
or
if it's painted.
they ask Nathan.
but the other-
I send a child.
How
Send
many
a
colours
child.
Nathan's army
The other
is?
thing though is that I thought like the only thing I thought about that was I wasn't sure if people would be like, oh, like that was a terrible, like the TO just took a terrible picture of my army.
Well,
Right.
yeah, that's the other thing. It's
I liked it.
how much effort do you want to go to? I mean, you can have a thing set up with a light box and
Yeah,
people
that- but
take the
we were-
time
we-
setting it up and taking
No,
the
we
picture.
were saying
in
it
the
should
box.
be a picture from the event. So you have to take it at the event so that you're not like
advantageous because you could have
Yeah.
more time. Say you go, oh, I'll do it on Monday.
exactly, yeah.
Then you're
It's
getting
just like
an
on the
extra-
day from the event, like you can send a picture in.
No,
it'll
you
go
can
on-
take a light box though
Who's
and
taking
set
a
it
light
up
box?
there and
I
let
don't
everybody
let anybody
take
else use
turns.
it.
I like what you did, Stu. Like back for Old Northern Invasion, was you had like best Behemoth, best character, best unit,
Yeah.
and then overall there was like 3 armies to choose best painted from, sort of thing. But you could also do it that you could enter Behemoth unit or character, but you can only enter 1. So then you've maybe because again, certain folk just paint well and end up pulling 2 or 3 of the
Yeah,
trophies
yeah.
out of the best units.
Well,
But it means
that's-
that somebody could go, if your event went now and went, there'll be a best Behemoth, a best hero, a best unit, 5 models or less, best artillery or special unit, because the problem is not a lot of armies actually have artillery, which is the big problem. But it means that somebody could go, I'm going to paint my artillery piece the best I can. And
Yeah.
then, obviously then it doesn't maybe match the rest of their army, which means they won't win best overall painted. But it means
I
that
know.
actually they are winning a painting award, which
Yeah.
They had that,
Might
they
make
had
them
that at
feel
the
better.
AGOMs, didn't they, Stu?
They
They
do,
had
that's
the-
where
Yeah,
it's from.
there you go.
I just do the best warlord me.
yeah.
I've just done the best warlord and the best army, which
I'm sure you did best
Got-
units, unless it was Warlord. Because I
it'll have
remember,
been AGOM. When we went to AGOM, I won them all.
no, because Kevin won one. Because Kevin won at
Nice.
someone's event. He won one with
Yeah,
his
he
Magdrop.
won the warlord.
Was it the Warlord? Was it?
Yeah,
Was he?
He-
That's a
he-
cool idea.
it was his Fire Slayer guy.
Yeah, his Fire Slayer's army was
Yeah.
nice.
because
It's
he
not one
was
of my favorite armies he
best
painted.
warlords. Because we always have it that it's the warlord that's the big thing.
Yeah, the narrative sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't remember Kev's Fire Slayer army.
It was gorgeous. That was back in AOS days.
We
Wild
had it for
AOS.
7 days, Scott. To be fair.
No, you had that army for long. Like on TGA,
Fortnite.
you could.
Was it
On
a
TGA,
spam?
you
It
could
wasn't a
even
spam
see
army
it.
though, was it?
No, that was like an army, like one of everything. That was when
That's why I don't
characters
remember
were
it,
not good, not the best. They had, you kind of just took one of everything. But he had like a couple of Grimwrath Berserkers, not because Kevin.
I don't
Uh,
remember that at all.
but yeah, that was a gorgeous army. I'd have to shout out to Kevin. Get the pictures up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's got a narrative page on TGA where he played all the narrative missions in his book.
Yes,
Well, that's cool.
So, next section. We do have a few questions, not many, don't worry. It'll only take a few minutes.
Cool.
Okay, so first question. We didn't actually ask widely for questions. So here you go. How broken is the new Lumineth Flying Fox guy, or is the internet losing its shit over nothing?
B. Strong B. Internet's
Always be.
Always B.
I think the thing that I don't see anyone talking about with the Fox guy is he doesn't do that much damage.
JP,
No.
you've gone a bit death metal.
I was
there.
say you're killing my ears.
You've got a bit napalm there.
Is
Get
that
rage
any
coming
better?
out of him for the fox.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just saying I don't see much people talking about the fact he doesn't do that much damage, and
It
like
just makes you tilt.
yeah, he's got a lot of special rules, and he'll zoom around and he'll fuck shit up, I'm sure. But like,
I
don't
think
know.
it's negative play, isn't it? It's not being able to catch something. Because if you're not an army that doesn't have the speed to catch up with them, again, we have to wait for the FAQ because we need to understand if they don't read the rules correctly and if it does mean every shooting phase or if it's just on your turn. I think that's kind of what we need to wait for.
How strong do you? I've not consumed Lumineth Part 2 at all. I'll be honest, but how strong do you think they are?
I think the old lists are stronger. I think you're
people
stronger
play
without the
mostly
new
old
stuff,
lists, yeah.
and you just play the old stuff with the
Really?
extra spell lore.
They look
Honestly.
good. I just don't think they definitely don't seem broken. I think
you'll see some
everybody's overreacting.
spammy lists with units that are maybe a bit the Rue Rider thing and things like that. You might see that sort of lists, but I think overall,
What do they do? Are they just quick? I've not.
They pile in 6 inches,
And
then pile in anywhere.
and they don't have to pile in any direction.
Yeah, they do have to finish closer,
yeah,
which
okay.
is
I saw
And
that.
if they're-
Is
if they're in
that not a
range
general
of
rule for those?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
and,
all
and in a
when you-
battalion, if they're in range of a hero, they can always pile in as if they charged.
yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
they
right.
basically get a free pile-in move, and
But they're only 2 wounds,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, But again, they don't look like they do insane damage, but they're really cheap.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
are
that's-
they are really.
That's
cheap.
what I'm saying. They are cheap.
Yeah.
Points wise, maybe not model. Again, that's
130 points does seem really cheap for them, but I still don't. Maybe if somebody was to spam the crap out
what I'm
of
saying.
them.
Yeah, you'd have to spam them, but what are they? 45 quid for 5?
Can they be battle line or are they?
Yeah, they're battle
Yeah,
line.
Can be with the guy I
The
bought
Regent.
thinking that it'd make the
Whatever.
bloody Dawn Riders battle line.
I think
Oh,
I've just
yeah,
seen
okay.
we've seen enough AoS that like you don't always know. Like it often takes a couple lists before people have totally figured out what the best thing is. Like Theraphon came out, we saw a lot of like Saurus and Saurus Knights and stuff like that, and before we settled on the Croak build. You know, the first Slanesh book came out and people said Keepers of Secrets weren't very good at the start, and like I think it takes a little while before we see what the list is and what real. I think
it's also because
Yeah.
the games aren't being played.
yeah.
It's-
I mean, yeah, like
It's probably the biggest thing. See if there was an event next weekend and it lit the new
Yeah.
Lumineth in without an FAQ, there'd be a lot of ambiguity caused just by the not having an FAQ. Not having the FAQ is probably always the biggest thing. If you play an army with no FAQ,
yeah.
like, I think Teclis is now stronger because he has an extra lore. All right, he still can only do 4 spells, but
Yeah, and they've got a teleport.
very
now,
hard.
my quick take was
Can't block the teleport though, can you?
I was gonna say,
Cheers.
my quick take was on it that there should be
Completed
a
it,
spell.
mate.
There should be a spell in each lore that costs an 11, because the army very easily can get plus like 5-6 to cast anyway.
Yeah.
But Teclis would then have to force himself to go to 2 spells if he wanted to cast the big spell from each lore, rather than him just going, that's done.
Yeah,
Not rolling dice is a big thing, I think, for people.
People
so.
don't like when you don't roll dice. Like we've looked at, we've obviously seen Destiny dice, but I think It is
Blade
it
Masters
is a
don't look as
hard
mental as they thought they were going to be.
because they don't have sun metal weapons, right?
Yeah,
Even though they're called sun metal weapons.
but again, that's an FAQ weight, isn't it? That's again, that could be a keyword. That could have been not on the scroll and put into the Lumineth.
I like stuff being
Allegiance.
on the scroll. It makes it a lot easier to
But
learn
no,
the
it'd be
game.
better if it's Allegiance, because then it means that when Lumineth units in the
Allegiance,
cities build, they're not going to be as good.
Sure.
Again, that's cities' problem, isn't it?
But yeah, I don't. They don't look crazy to me. I think they're going to be basically the same power level they were before, maybe a little higher.
So are the Blade Masters when we're shit for about a day on the Blade Masters? I mean, I think they're the best model in the range actually. But
Really good at killing an ironclad. You just need to spend the same amount of points as you'd spend on an ironclad to do it.
Well, because they don't get the mortal wounds, they can't even really kill an ironclad anymore, right?
can they catch
Yeah.
an ironclad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, again, like you say, it's an FAQ weight, isn't it? And if they can roll a 9 to charge, isn't it? That's kind of the
Cogs.
because they can just teleport across the board and be in range. They're immune to
Oh,
magic on a
yeah.
4-up and a 5-up
Teleports.
Oh yeah, and
That's all this.
with Techless on the board. Like, again, that's just a thing. I don't like their scenery piece either. I think that's
oh yeah, what does
too
it
big.
do?
And,
I
well,
think it looks
a
really
hero
cool.
goes on it and he gets to do a command ability free every turn. But again, there's a lot of ambiguity on can he use one that someone else has used and things like that. And there's a lot of because again, there's a lot of heroes that don't have command abilities.
It's only just come out, so I mean, it's only
It's
this
got
week.
the new book power.
Oh yeah,
Every new
Yes.
book has that whole kind of, well, nobody's ever played against this, so it's obviously going to be a bit stronger.
Yeah. Like if you don't know, like also you have to see a lot of this stuff, right? You're like, oh, the kangaroos can pile in any direction. You know, you're sort of thinking, okay, so they get a
I still
lot more
think that's one of
dice.
the strongest rules.
Yeah. I mean, it's very.
I
strong.
think it's more also it's one of those rules that you're gonna eye roll watching someone fiddle, trying to
Yeah.
get the most
Yeah.
out of that 6 inches they can, and you're gonna be like, oh, you can't jump my free rows of 32 mil bases.
Yeah.
Oh
and
yeah, I
they're
definitely can. I'm like, you definitely can't. There's no way you're fitting.
Yeah,
I
Genshin is so
guarantee you that the average customer is going to lose as many games as they win with that piling rule. Guaranteed. Honestly, like I just see it just
is
being...
it like you say? Is it playing with fire? Is it giving somebody too much to think about? And
Yeah, it's going to slow down the game so much. Like,
Yeah, I do feel
you
like
need
that.
to think about it. Do you know what I mean? Like in the normal game,
Yeah.
what's the
It's like
closest
having
to
another
that's where I
movement
can
phase.
pile into?
I think
Yeah.
you're forgetting also that Lumineth Realms, they pile in with 2 units before you do 1.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they could pile out with that unit and then tag you with another unit. So
Yeah.
so if you're like say Mega Gargants, they could tag you with something that's going to be harder for you to shift, and then this unit's just moved off of you.
I'm more scared of Mega Gargants than I am of Lumineth Realm Lords.
Same.
I've
Oh,
still
yeah.
not played against Mega Gargants, but
I
don't
just like
fear-
Mega, especially because I'm building all this gifts list.
Yeah.
I'm like the rune, I'm like, okay, I can be as clever as I want in the movement phase. I can do really nice outplays. You just play versus Sons of Behemoth, you're like, oh, it's turn 1. They've gotten onto the objectives. The player can walk away from the table now, and it's just like, do you have enough damage?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like with my Gits army, I think the answer is just no. Like we can just math it out at the start of the game and be like, I can't kill you before the game's over. And so I think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to like smash apart the meta, but I think they're going to be. You're going to just have some armies. You're playing like Nighthaunt, Gits, like some of the Zinch lists that aren't like the power lists, and you're just going to be like, oh, I don't have the damage to kill a Mega Gargant, so the game's over on turn 1.
I think there's actually a lot of armies that won't be able to shift them quick enough.
Well, on some battle plans, right? You play like on focal points. They just or a battle for the past wherever they can kick the objective out of.
This is where TTS is like absolutely amazing, because I got halfway through a game against Mark's Mega Gargants and I was in the lead, and then I just paused the game and we've still not finished it. So technically, having a constant state of winning that game. Like,
Sorry, Mark, you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
Just kick him out. That's how you do. Remove him as host and.
So here you
play
go
the game
then.
and stuff.
Here's a question. In the optimistic, this is a little bit older because it was for when we were last scheduled to do one, but no.
2009.
Yeah. In the optimistic contingency, we won't be locked down forever. Where are your favourite places to play AoS in Scotland?
Where what?
Where are your favourite places to play AoS in Scotland?
Yes, in
castle.
Scotland.
And a castle is obviously the best.
Then Common Ground. Kev's house.
What was first?
John.
John's.
My back garden.
I think as far as events go, Common Ground's, well, the place really, isn't it? for
Warhammer
us?
World.
It's
If you're going to go the event of all, Warhammer World is
well,
probably
yeah, but it says in Scotland.
in Scotland.
When
So
are we
Common Ground is the only option.
Yeah, Common Ground, I mean, basically is geared up as a game
Did
event.
Steve ask that question? Was
It's
that
got-
Steve?
It's got terrain. It's got
What is your
camping.
favourite venue in Scotland
got
to play?
shop.
SFET's story.
It's
Aberdeen store. Aberdeen GW. There you go.
yeah, that's
Is
all
that-
right. I
is
like
that-
my house.
That also means I
When
can
you
get
all
home
start
for
coming up to
tea.
play me here, when you are allowed to come and stay and play, you'll like it here
Yeah.
because you get curry and shit
Yeah.
and
Curry and
dice.
shit.
Curry and shit, and you get to.
Get curry, then have a shit because of the curry,
Yeah, you
or
can do, yeah. But the chicken dog
Sniff a
watches
stinky
you.
dog.
The chicken dog follows you in the bathroom and watches you
I can't go anymore if she's not watching.
knowingly.
She'll probably let me
okay.
off and have started.
So, Common Ground Games. Do you think third edition will bring wholesale sweeping changes to the game mechanics or minor moderate tweaks and alterations? Start with you, Nathan. Speculation is right. Go for it. Go for it.
I think it will be similar to AoS 2. I think that we'll see some new stuff that we've not seen before. But I don't know so much about whole sweeping changes like across the entire game. I think that we've come too far. War scrolls aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like movement phase, shooting phase, combat phase. Like I don't see
core
the actual
mechanics are
game.
gonna stay.
Yeah. But they'll probably put loads of new stuff in that we've not seen before. Or rework stuff.
Well, what
What do
was
you
the?
look forward to seeing then? If you could pick something to definitely go in, what would you?
Personally, I just want priority in turn 1 to be determined by a roll. That's what I want.
And +1 to whoever deploys first,
Yeah,
or just
that's-
straight off?
Something
Or
to just randomize the start.
Whoever deployed first wins ties, sort of like what
Yeah.
double turning.
Are we agreed, though, that the priority roll between rounds?
Yeah, priority roll each
You have
turn
to keep it.
stays.
You
Yeah,
have to
but
for the way
I-
the game's designed.
I hate turning up to a table and then discussing with my opponent, well, how many drops are you? Okay, so that means you've got the choice of going first or second. And then if you've got that choice, having all the power. And if you don't, having to kind of deploy, going, well, I don't know if I'm getting first. I just hate that.
That's
I
the
hate that
thing. I would
mechanic.
like. I think even like it
Yeah.
would even be better if you were forced to like declare. Like you were like, okay, I've got less
Before
drops.
deployment starts.
You
Yeah.
were like, so I'm going to, and it's like if you deploy first, you go first, and if you deploy second, you go second. You get to choose as the person with lower drops. You're like, okay, I'm going first, and then
Or
your
also-
opponent is like, I didn't get the choice, but I at least know what's going on.
Yeah. It's the not knowing while you're deploying just pisses
It's
me
really
off. 'cause
annoying. Yeah.
Some armies can do it, some armies can't, and it's.
I would like some random deployment missions to come back, kind of like what Dawn Attack used to be
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah,
like-
I love that.
You'd take a unit,
we need
one
the Iron
one to
Curtain.
4 you're in the middle, or 1 to
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
you're 3 to 4 you're here, 5 to 6 you're at this end.
Yeah.
Just because some armies just get away with, obviously it doesn't affect half the armies, they just pick themselves up and redeploy.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's
but,
supposed to say.
AOS is so much about synergies now and within
That-
and whatever.
yeah.
So that would mess things up big style, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
but you wouldn't have to, Phil, because you could just deploy right at the edge of the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 But you should
Smaller
be able
boards-
to,
smaller
all armies
boards
should be
too.
able to have a unit, like units to go up and get objectives. Same idea with not having objectives miles apart still. We're all kind of
Just-
still in the middle of the table.
You need 4-foot high cardboard in the middle of the table, so you don't know if your
All like
opponent.
battleships.
Yeah, like where your opponent's deploying, how
Well,
they're
it's like-
deploying.
That used to be a
Fog of
mission.
War.
That
I know,
used to be a
I've
mission.
seen
mission,
pictures
yeah.
of people.
We've seen people
Yeah.
playing it in Common Ground.
Yeah,
Yeah, we used to play a mission like that in
That was the 90s though.
in
wasn't
8,
it? Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what we were.
It was 8th edition because it was with the.
I never played it in 8. Was that
It
the
was
I've
in
seen
the
people
blood.
do it.
Was it the Blood and War campaign set that came out that had a mission? Because it was supposed to replace Watchtower because everyone loved Watchtower.
I really like that blind deployment. It was really good. I played a tournament once. I think it was at Warhammer World, and we played that where you deployed behind
a sheet.
Deployed blind. How did we do it?
You had to draw your
Captain
units.
Warhammer World,
It was a piece of
they wouldn't
paper.
have
You had
had
to draw your units normally. That was what it was. Well, that's what we did.
That was good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I like that sort of stuff, and I like a lot of the narrative missions that are in the campaign books and things, and in the battle tomes. But I never play them on the channel and things because people want to just watch match play. They want
It's because match play is easy to follow. That's the point. Like, I could not watch 20 minutes of your video and then on turn 3 I still know what's happening because it's Battle for the Past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So what about yourself then, Liam? Changes? What do you think will change? What do you hope?
I think there'll be like 3 or 4 big key changes to the game, and then like a heap of small things. Like I definitely think they're going to try and push the board size change on us. Will everyone accept it or not? It kind of makes sense with the whole virus thing being there, because then that means there's more gaps between tables. At Common Ground, for example, if we lost, what is that, a foot
on the side and 4 on each end, isn't it?
Yeah. So if you lost a foot on each side, that all of a sudden gives you that little gap between.
But you've got 2 feet. You've got 2 foot between each table, then, haven't you? I suppose. I mean, I like it. I like the idea of that, and I like it as well because you can put a dice tray on the side. Then you don't dick about. And
you can also have like units sitting at the side, like.
Yeah, it's great having the extra real estate when you go to events where they have it.
When you have an army that, like, if you have like an army like you say Gits, where you've got like 120 models, when you start taking off models and there's no space at the side of your table, you your models end up where your dice are kind of sitting.
Yeah.
And you kind of get all mixed in between each other.
The thing that we're forgetting though is that's now. And places will adapt. Places will want the maximum capacity once they're allowed again. So they'll only build the tables based on the... People could build sideboards now on a 6x4 table, but they don't. So if the standard becomes 5x3.5...
I think Just Play did.
Then you'll get 5
last year, the year before.
Tables. I think
a lot of events have changed to having sideboards. There's been quite a few events.
It is good. I do like it. I mean, I like the space, me. Me too. Because I like 6x4 because
but I don't think
you can outmaneuver at the scale of armies we've got. Yeah. You don't often get, apart from a real horde army, you can't fill a full 6-foot deployment, and you really count then on maneuverability to outfit. I'm looking at my table here, so I'm just looking. I've got a 6x4 right here next to me, and you look at it, and the scale of it is such that you really can come round the flanks and you can use the space.
Yeah.
I fear that losing a foot off the end is going to change and a few inches on each side. It's going to change the experience.
It also just means that like you saying obviously like businesses will go to capacity, but the world is that ever going to be a possible thing to do?
No,
like
they might not do it in this world.
Like,
but
maybe the next Earth, though, when there's no virus and things like that, there'll be a.
I just like the scale. I like 6 foot. It's big, you know. It as the scale of a human. It's
but the same idea
so
for
big
the
that
other.
you have to move to get to the other side of the table. And I like that.
Cool.
The same problem for you is that if you have an army that's quite slow, and you can't keep up with these fast armies, you're just never going to get to touch them. You're never going to be able to walk, or move your units across the table and reach.
No. This is true, but yeah, I don't know. I like the scale. I'm used to it.
I was playing a game today and I was thinking about the possibility of smaller table size and stuff, and I was looking at the edges and we didn't have any units anywhere near the edges.
Yeah,
and it was shifting objectives, so the objectives are towards the center of the table, but they're only 12 inches away from the edge. So if you think about it, there's 6 inches around the table that's been removed.
Yeah.
Potentially. And if
the missions have changed, the size of the table. I mean, the thing is, I'm used to 6x4 based upon 8th edition fantasy where there weren't objectives.
Yeah.
You just killed each other.
Yeah.
And it was all about
that was a lot more of a maneuverable game.
It was, and that's what I'm used to.
But then units have changed because again, if you make the board smaller, you'd also probably have less units that are conga lining because it wouldn't be such a thing to need anymore. Because you wouldn't have to cover such a large space with your blocking units.
No.
Because you just have like, so say you had like
block them from objectives now.
Yeah, which is what they should be doing. You should be able to. You shouldn't have to watch your back from all these armies that deploy deep strike 9 inches away because that's the way the game works at the moment.
Yeah, just remove deep strike.
I hope they literally delete all the missions we have and try and aim for 40k ones. Try and aim for points
if they
where
make the table
scoring is
smaller.
Better.
I agree. I think if they make the table smaller, we need new missions because maneuverability and being able to really use that width of the table doesn't need to be a thing anymore because.
And decide on a better secondary table system that isn't just max points for people.
I can't be doing with it. The auxiliaries are shit.
Fuck auxiliaries. Such a waste of everyone's time.
I charged 9 inches. Yay. I have a unit that's touched a piece of scenery by the end of a turn. Oh, well, that new fox moves, 48 inches, so that's just a free point to anyone. No matter where
we spoke before, we like the 40k ones, don't we?
Yeah, the 40k ones are brilliant.
The last 6 weeks, the last 6 battle reports we've played here, and I know it's not a big testing ground for everywhere, but the way we've done it is we've just drawn them randomly, and it's been more fun than picking them. Because if you pick them,
the problem is if you do it randomly, if you did one with wizard, if you got a wizard one, it's impossible for you to do.
Oh yeah, you get troll.
Said that if it's an impossible one for us, you get
a veto. Yeah.
But we deal 2, we shuffle the deck, and we deal 2 each, and we just accomplish them. And it does change the games up, and it's quite good. I don't mind it being random, but when I get to choose and I look at the objectives, and it's like, take and hold, I'm going to hold an objective for 2 turns. It's like, what is the point in having this in the game?
The one that holds objective for 2 turns, so you're going to reveal it turn 1. Like, even in Battle of the Pass, I'm going to set my entire army on this objective.
Yeah.
Turn 2, I'm on the objective still, I've won it.
Yeah, but I like the random. When you do it random, if you get that one and it's Battle for the Pass, you're like, bloody hell, I'm lucky there. That's really good. Equally, I don't want it just to be a tiebreaker. I think it should score somehow.
Yeah.
I hate auxiliaries. I think the thing about auxiliaries is they're too small. They're not worth the trade-off for doing them. So what they work as in events is like an inverse strength of schedule. So instead of using strength of schedule to tiebreak, you're instead using the reverse, which is the easier your games were, i.e. the more likely you were to score your secondaries, the more points you're getting. So you're like, oh, if you just got, if you got a good draw and you absolutely smash someone, and you're like, you called it on turn 2, and you're like, I assume I will get all my secondaries. You're like, okay, you get rewarded for that. But if you have a really tough game against a tough opponent, and you're like, oh, I got the major in the end, but I didn't get, neither of us even ever had time to look at our secondaries, you get punished for that. So I don't really, and when I've looked at the numbers, it basically just comes out in a wash. Like secondaries don't really add or take anything away from how fair the ladder scoring is. And I don't really like them. I think they detract from like playing the main game in tough games. So
I think the way GW were doing it were just as the tiebreaker, weren't they? Yeah. It's not to be for granularity for a tournament scoring system.
Mm-hmm. But there's very rarely a draw. Like I say that my last event on TTS, the first game was a draw, but then changed into was still a draw because we both had then the same amount of secondaries. But like you say, like the secondaries were so easy, you could not get them.
Yeah, I don't like selecting them.
Also, you're in a tournament.
You don't change. I'd like Grand Alliance specific ones, or even better, like 40k do, Battletome specific ones.
I don't like that. I hate Battletome ones because it means if you've got a newer Battletome, you're in a stronger place because they'll design new ones. Which, like, if you're then say your next book's not another 2 years, some armies are like that. Yeah. But so this Order army has this. Like, example would be elves, because obviously we're in the year of elves for some strange reason. Like, say Lumineth Book 2 got them, but because Doc's book was printed too early, it missed them.
Yeah, I think
so then Doc has to wait 2 years before it gets its own special one.
Maybe it needs to be Grand Alliance specific, and they just come out in the General's Handbook each year. And then you get to select them specific to that, so Destruction have to do something Destruction-y. And that'd be quite a nice way of doing it for the year. And if it didn't work, then at least they get a reset the next year. Or
They
when
can also put it to public vote. They have the ability to do this. They can public vote, go in January. We're looking at the such and such. Here's 3 that we're thinking about into destruction. The one that gets voted the most, we'll go in and we'll remove one. Things like that. This is the problem. Like, they say they use public opinion. The only public opinion we've ever given is points. But points don't fix units.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I think that we're quite periphery, though. I think that when you get to the more central areas, I think if you're playing in certain circles, the feedback's probably more readily received. When I went down and played at Derby for the that whatever it was I went to,
the small event,
the Ben Curry one where Ben Johnson was there. And you could tell that was a local gaming club with people who knew the game. I mean, there were new people there as well, and people who obviously weren't involved. But I think that groups like that, and maybe the one, there used to be one, the Blood Knights or whatever they were called, that used to operate out of Warhammer World, those sorts of groups might have more of an influence. And they might not be official playtesters, but they might at least be recognised what's going on. I don't know.
I sort of think that GW can release whatever secondaries they want, and tournaments sort of do their own thing with them, anyways.
Yeah.
We start a lot of tournaments do the thing where if your opponent scores their secondaries, it counts against you, right? And then I don't really like that one because you can't control when they're used once per.
The ones that can happen turn 1, you can't stop.
Yeah, you're just I remember at Bobo, I played against multiple people who had the 9-inch charge one. And I was like, okay.
Okay, so you roll a 9, I've lost.
Yeah,
I've lost a point.
Yeah, or there was ones where it was control twice as many objectives as your opponent.
Which they do turn 1.
And it was just turn 1. I've got 2, and you haven't moved yet. And you're
but if you don't get a point for denying it, you get to the end of the game.
Yeah, and you give them both away.
Just turn around and say, well, we'll both just say we got them, yeah.
Yeah,
and then everybody scores.
Well.
Yeah,
because secondaries
are bad.
That's why you need to be.
That's why they need to be integrated in the point system
for the other person doing it.
Like otherwise, how they're 40k, where they're the 15 points they give you is a part of your.
The 40k one was really cool, where your primary scoring was capped, which is also really good for missions where they're mathematically over on turn. You play Sons of Behemat on focal points, but in 40k, because it's 90 points, 45 for primary, 45 for secondary. Sons of Behemat, they go and
they would actually have to go try and kill things, which they can't do.
So they go, they get up, they score their 45 points in the first 2 turns, and you're like, okay, but can you stop me scoring for the whole 5 turns? You don't have these games that are just if I win. It also lowers the impact of priority, because you no longer have if I win priority, I mathematically win the game, and if I lose priority, you table me. It's sort of okay, even if I win, all I'm going to do is cap out my primaries, and if you're still on the table, you're going to score your primaries and your secondaries. I really like the 40k scoring system.
And they give 10 points for painting.
Yeah, nice.
So do JP or Scott have anything additional to add?
I think we've covered most of.
What about you, Scott?
My stuff.
Oh no, you're on mute, Scott.
No, we've muted you, Scott.
No, that awesome chat I've been given for the last 10 minutes is gone then, is it? So.
Oh no.
All I was going to add was I was trying to find that tweet that the guy had the secret leaked information from AoS 3.
Yeah, the guy.
And it was it reaction points or something it was called, or I can't remember. So yeah, who knows? I don't know.
Sounded like someone's wish list, really.
Stand shoot could be a thing.
Finally, a reason.
Well, it's already a thing. It's already a thing in Seraphon. Seraphon really have it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Worst rule in the game.
A few more levels would be good. A few more, a bit more design space they could do some stuff with. I don't know. Listen, I've not played a game for it. I don't even know when my last game was. I'm well out of.
I'm happy for another year of AoS 2, to be honest, because we've missed it.
I've only played physically. I've only played 1 mission out of the new book.
Have you?
Yeah, only 1 out of the GHB. I've only played 1 physical game from it.
Really?
Did you not have an invasion then?
I wasn't last year.
No.
I wasn't at any events last year since March.
I had to isolate Northern Invasion, so I missed it. I only got to Onslaught.
I moved house. That was my.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
But
Extreme socialist.
another thing would be the points difference. Rather than giving you a triumph that you never remember, whoever's lower gets a command point.
Gets banned.
Ooh. Interesting.
Because then you could maybe just not take the command point in your list that you pay 50 points for anyway, and you then get the command point back because you'll be lower anyway. As well.
Command point you've got to spend in turn one.
Oh yeah, I'm like that. What am I gonna do with my? I'm on 1940 for that list, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I gonna do? I don't want a command point. I don't matter. You would just take an extra.
You can still have them. You just can't.
Yeah, take an extra endless spell.
You want the carrion spell if you're going to play Nagash, don't you?
Yeah.
Infinite line of sight.
The carrion one, the Reaper's one.
Yeah, the Bone Reaper's bird.
I suppose he can take any from Feck or.
Yeah,
Right.
the barricade.
Well,
the barricade's not terrible.
Barricade's a good spell.
Half your movement on anything.
Yeah.
So
The
that's like
horse is
violent.
good as well. I like the
Horse is
horses.
okay.
Aye, well, I suppose if I've got 60 points to play with, I've already took the Purple Sun, so I've really got 110. If I don't want that, I just think the Purple Sun's so good at 50 points.
Purple Sun is so good. At what?
Randomly, maybe removing some
It's
model.
like- I remember I played against Lee Bromley, cool guy at Bobo. He was playing Feck and he had the Purple Sun, and I was like, "Doesn't seem that good. How have you found it?" He's like, "It's done nothing except for kill my own Archregent." He was like, "That was the time that it was like the 6/6 into the 6/6 or whatever." He was like, "I love
That's
it."
why you push. That's why you push it through the mirror.
But it doesn't move when it goes through the other side of the mirror.
Yeah,
That's
no,
it.
you cast it on your side and then you move it through and just dump it outside the mirror on that side.
But it just then sits there. It doesn't move and they
Really
don't
good-
get the effects
really
of it.
good spend of 50 points.
Really bad FAQs.
Well, 120 points at that
Is it
time.
that bad?
Choose like the potential maximum damage is crazy.
Well, I took
Yeah,
the malevolent.
yeah, Gloom Spike,
That's all juicy then.
I'm just going to clip 4 units of 60 grots. It's going to
Wait a
do
second. Wait a
418
second.
mortal wounds.
I took the Malevolent Maelstrom for 10 points to heat
Masters?
1, heat 2.
You took a Masters as well.
Did I? Well,
You never played it.
At the heat, it killed one eel that was next to Sinister, so it battle shot both them off. It killed the Tidecaster, and I think it like almost killed the Achillean King for a 10-point endless spell. So, yeah, they do more damage to you than they do to other people sometimes.
Yeah, well, suppose they land near you.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
You want Geminids if you're going to still take any endless spell.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you already had Geminids. Do you not have Geminids?
Well, I have them, but I've not got
Oh,
them.
well, yeah, wait. You've got 60 points in your list and you don't have Gemini. Even if you didn't have a wizard, you should fill it with Geminids.
Geminids and Portal. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have Portal either?
It
I
doesn't
It's not
work.
Portal, but that's what I'm saying. If you're going for
Yeah.
a combo,
Listbot's overheating, Stu. Listbot's
This
overheating.
spell's giving me shit.
I've got alarms going off all over my screen.
you only have one wizard for, so you can only cast one endless spell a
Just
turn.
pump it into Listbot. Listbot will tell me.
Has-
Why have
has
you not
Listbot-
taken Geminids? Wanker.
Has Listbot done the endless spells yet, JP?
It knows about them.
But has
So
it done like a
but-
tier list?
How would it? Yeah, well, yeah, actually, it's for certain armies. So Quicksilver Swords is really bad in Gits, but it only knows that from the record that people have played. Also, I saw it today on the screenshot I shared of list with Catacross in it. At the bottom of the OBR tier list in tier C is a Kellyan Morsar guard. So I'm like, what person has come onto Listbot and submitted an Ossiarch Bone Reaper's list, allegiance, with loads of eels in it? I'm like, who are you?
Maybe they were using Death Riders
I'm gonna
as
guess.
eels. Maybe that's what it was.
But I just saw it on there and I was like, oh, well.
Okay, so what's your favourite army to play against from each of the Grand Alliances? From A, this game will be good fun, rather than this game will be easy point of view. So-
What's the difference?
So
between...
which
What?
ones do you like playing against for fun, rather than because you're just going to get to like hump them?
I love playing against Disciples of Zinch from Chaos, Carrigan Overlords from Order, Beastclaw Maw Tribes from Destruction,
An OBR.
and OBR before they were nerfed. That's the top 4 right there.
This is why people think you're a cock.
Well, no,
he
begins with a
didn't
C,
tell you which
Stu. It's
book,
not that
though.
word.
I didn't tell you which book of.
So what I
KO
want
is
it what I want to play against or what I want to play with?
Which one do you have the most fun playing against?
Oh fuck yeah, none of them.
Mixed death. Mixed death.
death. Any
Mixed death.
you play.
Mixed chaos.
Honestly, I don't. I've had really fun games against armies, and I think it's just so much to do with the other player and how they play so much more than like the NPE of the armies. I think a big thing about what makes an army NPE like in a vacuum, negative player experience, is how straightforward the rules are. I like to understand from outside. Whereas I think because I read quite a lot of the books and stuff like that, when I go into a game against Change Host, I know everything it's going to do. So even if I get smashed off turn 1, or tagged where I can't retreat turn 1, I'm like, okay, it's not that bad because I expect, I sort of knew going in this is what I have to go up against, and I'm like, okay, I don't mind that much. Whereas I think a lot of where these feel bad moments can come from is the armies that can the gotchas, like Seraphon can retreat when you charge them. Now, if you know about that, it's quite an interactive game mechanic. You can be like, okay, I need to tag them or block them off, or anything. If you don't know about it and you just push your block forward and you charge into it, and you're again, you shouldn't expect everybody in the game to know everything. And then your opponent's just like, oh, by the way, I'm gonna leave. You're like, well, that was fucking awful. You're like, now I've lost the game.
That comes down to your opponent, doesn't it? That's the This is what my Grand Alliance is. This is what my army is. This is what my temple or whatever it is. Do you know what it does?
So
if they go, oh yeah, it's fine.
I was talking to Mark about this today, and I was saying, because we were talking about NPE, and he was saying that he actually didn't think that the Bellicor and Kairos combo was really as bad as it gets its rep for. And honestly, I'm happy
what did you do?
Did you take the Vaseline with you? Did you? Did you do Bellicor and Kairos before you played it?
But that's it. This is all the stories he's heard. Okay, and then when it actually gets to the table.
Yeah,
I used Kairos to bring back some Plague Bearers one turn with his once per game ability to change a battle shock, and his Mock Rusher passed 3 5-ups in a row, but decided to fall back in case he failed his charge or his combat one. So
that's what I mean. If you know, yeah. I played against you when you had Bellicor and Kairos, and I had Archeon, right, which is the worst thing you can do. And because I knew about it, I was just like, okay, I'm gonna run before Archeon's poison, I'm going to run him into the middle, and then he can't move for a turn, and I was like, that's what I was expecting. And then we played the rest of the game. And it was just again, I think if you have never played against Bellicor and someone tells you what he does, that's going to be definitely a negative player experience in a way that Ironjawz probably won't be. But I think if you know the game, a lot of this stuff is not that frustrating. The only thing I find that gives me a negative play experience is playing against KO. That's the only thing I don't like, and it's just because every turn they can teleport. Their shooting phase is super boring. They have 40 different weapons that they have to go through, and it's not in anything to do even with the gaming. I think I've got a good win rate against new KO, and it's just really boring. I'm I don't really care about what I do because you can just teleport anywhere. So I spend my whole turn blocking off 9-inch circles and then waiting for your shooting turn and then doing it again. So, and that's just for me. Lots of people love it. So
I was talking to Mark about that as well, and he was saying he played Phil with his KO, and he didn't have any issues with it at all. He didn't experience NPE. So my theory is that
Phil's lovely,
at the risk of offending loads of people, but I think NPE is purely on the person who's experiencing it. Well, I think it's got nothing to do with the person pushing the arm. Well, very rarely has it got anything to do with the person pushing about KO. I think it comes down to the person that's playing against them's expectations, what they want to achieve. If they want to win the game and somebody's trying to stop them winning the game, they're going to be upset at that. And I think that's where these kind of, I'm not getting to play the game I wanted to play. I've been sitting thinking about this while I've been on the toilet for the last 2 weeks. And I've dreamt of winning this trophy. It's not going to happen now because this KO army is stopping me. Whereas
JP, sorry,
I'm just going, it doesn't really bother me.
It comes from my other hobbies. So JP, you know what Commander is for Magic the Gathering, don't you?
No.
Well, Commander's because I know you played Magic before. So
no, I've never played Magic. I played Hearthstone.
Skype and ask him if he knows what Commander is.
I played Hearthstone, so I know how Magic works.
Liam's going to show you his Commander just now. Okay.
I've got 10 decks down here. 10 decks.
Show you his deck.
But so that, like the rule for that, because it's a casual format, there's rule 0. You all talk about what you want this game to be, this experience before the game starts. So if your deck is too strong, you go, actually I might have to change because this is stacksy, or it's designed to not let your opponents play the game, like counter magic and things like that. Like
a AA meeting, is it? It's like a fucking AA meeting.
Well, but it's kind of like. Well, that's the point of it, because it's a casual format. Everyone is there to play the game.
I know nothing about Magic.
Well, it's like a 4-person format, so it's designed that, like when I play, I kind of let everyone kind of try and do their thing, so then go for, kind of. But that's the problem with match play sometimes. Like you say, someone will spend 200 hours painting their army, loving it, such and such, but when it comes up against an army that it can't do anything against, I actually think the more NPE stuff was the old stuff.
Yeah.
Like Vanguard
sure.
Wing.
Yeah.
Armies that were on a 2+ save rule in ones, and old change host. I still think new change host is strong, but I think it's more
old
the flamer side that annoys me.
One.
Old Crown Card. That's that
split into other units.
Is glorious. Like you just every game over on like one way or another would just be like so many games just blasted off the table turn 1. Like I think the game in terms of NPE is way better, and I think part of it is
controlling the double turn. For example, there's all these things that were automatically unstoppable, like 6 Storm Fiends with 6 Warpfire throwers and just flying across the board with sail.
Yeah, just coming out of the ground. Yeah,
just taking off your army because nothing had multiple wound protection.
I think multiple rerolls is a bit what I don't like playing against.
Yeah.
If something's just got everything, can either you don't roll the dice, or everything gets a reroll. Because I like to play the odds. I like to think, well, I can take it. And if I don't.
142 mortal wounds.
Yeah, I just like how
like,
negatives
don't
matter anymore because you reroll all hits and all wounds.
Somebody's like 3s and 3s, and you're thinking, that's going to be a bit harsh, but it might be all right. But then there's just some janky thing from this and that, and everything's re-rolling, and this is re-rolling. And by the way, it's when you're finding things out as you go along as well.
Yeah. I did have to mark with Bellicor today. So Bellicor still has all the rerolls with the saves.
I think Cathar is worse. I think the Cathar from Lumineth is worse than Bellicor.
The goading arrogance.
Well, no, just
Battleshock.
No, her, yeah. So she can do it against Battleshock. So every time they do something, it's a spell, so she can do it every turn.
Well, also she has goading arrogance, right? Which is where you can only pile in and attack her.
That's
but if you're out of 6 inches, you can't.
That's what the command trait from
the commander,
houses does to you. Yeah.
But the question was, which do you most enjoy playing against? Not
anything except KO.
Is this a question?
Again, I don't mind not playing against anything. I just think it's player based.
Yeah,
I don't mind playing against anything.
Also,
I just think if your opponent doesn't know their own army.
Yeah, exactly.
If your opponent doesn't know their own army, kind of like if the army came out last weekend and they've bought the filth because that's what everyone's been talking about on WhatsApp, but then they don't also know how to play it. But then they get to their shooting phase, they're spending 10 minutes looking at the rules, but then they realize they forgot a rule, so they want to try and go back and fix things. You're like, well,
you're really slam them down and say no.
Well, no, you're taking me off the board anyway. Do you really need to?
Yeah.
So you don't mind playing against KO if the person playing them is an absolutely boosted animal that doesn't have a clue what they're doing.
If you're gonna rip off a band-aid, do it quick. You know what I mean? Like if they know the rules and they're efficient.
Yeah.
Same idea when you play against a KO army, like you say, and you play against somebody that deploys their boat and they take 10 minutes to redeploy a boat.
And I think a big thing, and I'm sure this is why, like for example, people were like when Mark said he played against Phil's KO, he had absolutely no issue with it. Is if your opponent's helping you understand what their army does,
Yeah.
I played against David Jack. I was like, here's what Change Host does. You want to watch out for this. He deployed his army. I was like, are you sure you want to leave a 9-inch gap over there? He was like, yes. I take turn 1. And I'm like, and he's like, what does Change Host actually do? And I was like, you need to redeploy. Yeah. And so we just did deployment again. And it was just like, it's not, I think if people are looking to beat you because they're hoping you're going to forget a rule or you're not going to know what something is, that's going to give you a negative play experience, whatever army they're playing. Whereas if someone's there like, oh, by the way, do you remember, like someone, when I used to have the Mirmorn Banshees, you know, they get +1 attack if you cast a spell. So sometimes my opponent would be like, and I guess I'll just cast Arcane Bolt. And I was like, by the way, I've got +3 to unbind it. And if I do unbind it, I get +1 attack. And they'll be like, oh, okay. You know, I still want to because I want to do D3 mortal wounds. Or they'll be like, I'm not going to do it. And it's just, I think if you know, and you can, I've been criticized for being too lenient, but you can, if you at least are saying like, yeah, you should remember like at the start of the game these things and all this, I think you can get rid of a lot of the negative player experience by like just helping your opponent enjoy the game by making informed decisions rather than you waiting for them to fuck up so that you can punish them.
In equal measure, though, you can get rid of a lot of the non-player experience just by making these prairie babies quit the game. And then they're not playing the game to experience the negative play experience.
I think
Yeah,
some,
but then
like
my
I say,
win rate goes down.
it is for
wonder-
Nathan the other side of
wonder
it
why
as
they
well.
get
So some
Natural
people do take
selection.
it too personally.
Yeah.
Like some people take you.
Nobody's asking about negative play experience. They're asking what the most fun army to play.
Oh,
There is no fun armies.
But we have
There is
to,
no
yeah,
fun armies to play
exactly.
against.
That's what I
If
mean.
your opponent's
It's
a dick,
all
if your
it's
opponent's
all
a dick,
degrees
they're
of negative play experience. Though.
Yeah.
There's no positive play
Right,
experience.
last question. What's the painting hobby equivalent of skipping a leg day in the gym?
Not painting black rims on your bases.
Black
not-
ribbons.
Not
Yeah.
removing mold lines.
not yeah.
Oh, come on. Everyone loves a sexy mold line. Oh, everybody loves it.
Skipping leg day.
I would probably say an army that's like spray blue and then washed and then.
Well, that's just skipping all day. I think black rims on the bases is a good one, or just basing in general, right?
Always
like doing your
rim.
base.
bases.
Yeah, if it's
Always
just sand on a
rim
base.
models.
Yeah,
Always
always.
rim.
See, I see Stu's got one of my pens. There's a good pen in it. It's such a saves so much time.
Always give you the shout out for it.
Yeah. It's just such a good. That wasn't my idea, but it is such a good tool
What is
because it just saves you so much time. Like definitely when you're doing like
It's
100
just
bases.
a permanent marker for bases.
Well, it's a paint pen.
It's a paint
Oh,
pen.
that does sound good.
A
I use a
chisel-
really old brush.
A Posca chisel pen.
Yeah. Link in the
Buy
description.
it now. Buy it right now. Amazon.
Like
Honestly,
they're like £5.
It'll revolutionize your world.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't read
Especially
my bases
because you're
anyway. So.
painting gits. You just
I
like
know. God, yeah.
it's like literally 2-second rimmer
Yeah.
base.
If you don't
Yeah.
rim once in a while, then it's just garbage.
Every model needs to be rimmed.
Yeah, you need to rim every single one of them, or it just doesn't really completely affect. It's
This chat has, as always, derailed. Didn't you have to go at 10:30, Nathan?
yeah. But I heard
This is why he's
they were
turned into bad Nathan. He's turned into naughty Nathan. Using us.
We just see the car driving off out the window.
No, that is it. That's the questions. I think.
So what is the most friendly army to play against? Did we say
None of
that?
them. None of
Yeah.
them. There's no army.
I think
there's
army
no
that
ar-
doesn't have like you say it's on paper what it does. There's like the
Army's
older
not-
books are better
what
because
army
they have
is
less
that?
over the top.
Ogres.
No,
Not
no.
beast war.
Ogres are terrible.
way.
They
Hidden
count
army.
as more than one model.
Yeah.
Like,
And they all have like damage 3.
Just kill them. It's fine.
The most fun army to play against is like a 1,000 point army. I just think like
I'd honestly say probably like Night Haunt because they don't have any hidden ropes.
if they roll a 10+ to charge, they're hitting you twice.
yeah,
And they grow
but-
back so
But that's the
fast.
whole. But it's like that
That
rule's
is-
fine.
And
but
they've
they
got
don't
the
have any
black
way
coat.
to.
You kidding me? I just see that and I'm like, oh.
Actually, no, the Night
There's-
Aunt list.
The new
like
backup
a
in the,
corpse capper crack.
When the general of a Night Aunt army takes the heroes that doesn't regen models, that's the best one to play. Because some players, I've played a few Night Aunt generals, and they don't know how to build the list to bring back models.
Like
And
12.
you're killing the army and it actually dies, rather than those ones who know what they're
Yeah,
doing,
but this
and you
falls-
can't do a
this
thing.
falls- This falls under it's going to be easy, not it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's
that's what I
never
mean.
fun
Like,
to
if
play.
playing Warhammer is not fun. Like, essentially, the whole hobby is about, like, it's about like the building, painting, thinking about your list, and having a good experience with the other person on the other side of the table. Like the actual like watching someone regenerate 40 Grimgas from a gravesite. That's like losing isn't that much fun. Like the game
The
is
good
fun
old
'cause
days.
social
It makes
interaction.
my hair stand up with the narrative theme of these Grimgas coming back. Honestly, it's so euphoric. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You're
Like,
all dirty.
You just I think there's so much to Warhammer that isn't about like the actual like I would not play single player Warhammer where I played against myself just because I'm like, whoa, the experience like is so it's like the game is just part of this huge whole system that I really love, you know? And it's like I think like so I don't think there's an army that if it was like, oh, my opponents brought Nighthaunt, but they're a complete dickhead, I know I'm gonna have fun anyways because I just love moving models around when the other person is just cussing and swearing and being a dick for 3 hours. Like no army is so much fun that spending 3 hours across the table from a dickhead is going to be worth it.
Any army me and Scott pick is going to be all right because we don't pick filth.
No, but that's what I mean. I've had great games.
Just play it poorly.
And awful games. Like some of the worst games I've had have been against people who I knew they'd lost the game on turn 1, and they've just been a dick the whole time. They're like, oh, I need a 10-inch charge here. And you're like, yeah, they roll it. They don't make it. And they're like, oh, for fuck's sake. And you're like,
they double measure again. And they're like,
actually,
it's actually a 7. And you're like,
it's actually a 9-inch charge. Like,
yeah,
just anything like that. Like, and that's nothing to do with the power of the army.
Can I just say, Johnny Ford, Triple Maw Crushers is the equivalent of some sort of cocaine-fueled sex dream for Warhammer. And it's over in an hour. It's fine. It's great. There's no problem.
Fuck's sake.
I think also I played some games where both players had like really low powered lists. Like I played my mixed death versus all gun haulers or something, and it was sort of what you were saying, Stu, about like all the rerolls. Like we didn't have a lot of synergies. We had no reliability, and so it was like it did feel much more like a fun dice game than like a
with potential for brilliance.
Well, I had what's the thing, Red Fury. You know, I was like, okay, on a 5-up, I get to go again, and I was like, on my first attack, I did 4 wounds. So it's not even a huge deal, but like the game was just like it was happening, and it was more. And I think that is really like a fun format is when you don't have these high-powered lists. And I think right now any faction can build a high-powered competitive list that you just can't tell. So I think both players playing like the same game is what makes it fun. You know, you bring 2 shit lists and you just have a great time. Like me and Nathan played one game of Slaves to Darkness. It was like we decided to play like 3 games in one night on TTS or something. We got to the 3rd game. Our brains were all completely gone. We just ran everything into the middle of the table and we're just rolling attacks. And then we gave up after turn 2. We were like, what do we do? Yeah, and it was like that was fun, but it's nothing to do with like what the factions were.
No, one of the best things I've had recently, and you probably won't have seen it because we have been pumping out videos, but Flesh Eaters against Archeon in a recent, I think it was 2 battle reports ago, and it ended up my Daddy Adam, the Abhorrent Ghoul King on Terrorgeist against Archeon in combat. And he was supported by 3 Flayers and a Zombie Dragon guy. And it was like, you know, it was going to be game breaking. It was such good fun just rolling out that combat.
Yeah.
And everybody died. And it wasn't the way you thought, like where you normally think, oh, the Terrorgeist gets killed and then he explodes and it kills the other guy. It was like they killed Archeon, but he'd used By My Will on himself, so then he fucking
when he died.
mixed the bloody people who just killed him. But it was brilliant. It was like so much fun.
I remember when me and Scott played a Feck Mirror at the Heat, and we had 2 Aberrant Archregents on terrain, so they're both on like, you know, a 3-up day. And it was the terrain that heals you at the end of every turn, and they were -1 to hit. And so I don't know why but just every turn we were like, oh yeah, these guys are still fighting. And so for five turns, these 2 Archregents are just like whacking each other just in the middle of the game. And I was like, yeah, cool. Like I remember that, you know, like that. Like I don't think that could have been any faction, anything like that. Like I don't really subscribe to the idea that like, oh yeah, you know, that it's really fun to play against Gloomspite Gits. Like, if Gloomspite Gits were an amazing top-tier army, you'd be like, why do they have so many minuses to hit? Like, how do I deal with 200 grots? Like, it's just, it's like, it's the experience that makes it fun so much more than the specific army.
The moments in the game. Yeah. The memories.
I
Warhammer's a
remember
lifestyle,
playing
not a
you,
game.
Scott.
That's like you
That
say,
we
like-
turned up at AGOM, and I think most of us were there.
I know what's coming.
I'd forgotten. It was back when Neff actually turned people into vampires with a dagger rather than just killed them on a 6. And I'd turned up and forgotten to bring a vampire. And so Scott, I'd set off and I was in the car on the way down or whatever was happening. And so I'd got in touch with Scott because he'd not left yet. And so he stuck an extra vampire in for me, didn't you? And then we ended up playing each other. And the one time Neff's dagger went off, it was against you.
Fucking great, clean one.
No, it was the event before when I played against you and Neff just absolutely -1'd. It was against you.
Yeah,
Like
it was Flesh Eater. Yeah, you shut me down completely. Yeah,
I did shut you down.
Shut down my
And
senses.
killed your general and turned you into a vampire and used your own model against you. Glorious. Oh man.
Disgusting.
There you go.
Well, you got
That's
best
good old
sport
days.
as well, you bastard, did you?
Oh, it was good. You got it back. That's the thing. I think playing games, it's just about there's little tiny moments in each game that you remember, isn't there?
It happens in almost every game, though. I think it's the same as anything. It's easy to focus on the negatives,
Especially when you
it is to
can't play.
focus on the ones. Yeah,
Like
you've
you
had
say, if there's,
nothing but a year
if
to
there's a
sit down
lot
and
of
do it.
negatives as well, that's a problem for, is it? If you're not, like you say, Archeon's a really fun model, but the same idea when the whole army is designed to buff him so that he's either unkillable for your opponent or, like Ian Hunter, to shout out, he did Archeon in the 9 Varangard, didn't he, and got on the Summoner list sort of thing. That list is cool because it's Archeon, it's the whole army sort of thing. But his list wasn't designed to buff Archeon to the 9s like what a lot of the Archeon lists do, and just take people off sort of thing, or make it that Archeon can't be killed. It's things like that where then there's that opportunity. Because I think you killed Archeon with, was it Ghasts? Was it the?
It was actually the Banshees.
Yeah,
That
they
just
had
felt
the
that Ian Hunter wasn't afraid of me. I was like, you don't have to cast the spell, and he was like, you don't have to tell me what to do.
Slapped.
But yeah, I think again, like a lot of it's going to be having matched expectations with your opponent and stuff like that. As I said, I've had lots of fun games against multiple people on the screen right now playing filth, and like it doesn't. If you know what, and if you know what your opponent's army does, then I think it's a lot easier to have fun and be like, oh, I'm watching out for this really strong ability. It might just win, and then even if it does win, you're like, oh. You're like, I knew that was coming. I tried to do it, but I couldn't manage it. Maybe next time. I think negative play experience again comes when like you're like, oh, you never told me exactly how Be'lakor worked, or I didn't realize you could teleport every turn, or why is KO still in the game?
I like how I successfully got us to discuss this question again and not answer it. Like, so fucking troll.
Example would be like cheating as well, or nudging and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
From overhearing someone's experience in a 40k event is that their opponent said to them that I'm not here for you to have a good time. I'm here to get in the top 3 so I can get a place at ETC team. That is
Like,
overall.
fuck off, nerd.
That's again, but
That was me.
That was it. You don't play 40k. But like the example there, that's straight off the top of the. If you walked up to that person, they said that to you, you're not gonna have a good game.
No.
You're not gonna have a good game.
I'm gonna use that.
I'm not here to make friends.
You'll not enjoy this. It will not be over quickly.
It will not be enjoyable for either of us. I'm gonna slot this 12 dice up your.
Wait a minute.
And on that bombshell,
Deja vu.
Cut the stream.
that may even. I think that Nathan's better half is calling, and we've all got to go to bed.
I'm divorced now. bubble.
Yeah, but you get
Who
to
wants to
play
be in my
every
bubble?
week. Whether or
Yeah.
not
How did you get to play every
lockdown,
week?
so
You get
who wants
an
to be
extended
bubble?
house.
Yeah.
Did you win today, Nathan?
What
I
was
missed
that?
that. Did you win today?
Fucking crushed them, mate. Like,
That's it. Mark's still crying.
What did he run?
so we played Iron Jaws. It was like Bloodtooth's the one that gets the guaranteed teleport. It was kind of scary. Like,
Yeah,
Turn
some models
one.
weren't painted though. You should have had him take them straight off the board.
I'm sure they
Well,
got
the
taken.
fair.
straight
For
off.
how fast Mark paints an army as well, them not being painted is very strange.
Yeah, it was a rare instance where you play Mark with an unpainted army, if I'm honest. And I had stuff that I was going to paint for Northern Invasion, but then when I had to isolate, it just sat in a box. So I took it out of the box and we played today. So it wasn't painted either. But no, we had a really cool moment
Well,
as
none of
well.
the rest of your models were painted anyway. So
I know, like there's
JP's turned his back on you. Look.
I know. No, we had
We're all going to turn our back on you, I think, actually.
No, this is a good moment. I'm going to describe a really good moment. So, I charged into his Ard boys that were he piled in a way so I couldn't get my models into the objective, so they were like just outside the objective. And I managed to wipe out all of his Ard boys, and I captured the objective with a chaos spawn that I'd created from killing his Ard boys, right? So he was kind of pissed off, going, that free chaos spawn got the objective. But then when it got to my turn, it got to his turn, and he was trying to get the objective back. I had Kairos, a Vermin Lord, and Bellicor about half an inch away from the objective that weren't on it. The only thing that was on it was the chaos spawn. So he charged a war chanter that had buffed himself in onto the objective to try and kill the chaos spawn, and that was the primary objective. And he failed the charge, and I was like, oh crap. And then he re-rolled it, and he failed it again. I was like, fuck it, just put the guy in. I want to see what happens. He put the guy in, and he only did 3 wounds to the chaos spawn because he's a fucking scrub. But it had potential to be really cool. That was fun.
you shouldn't
Yeah,
laugh at
well,
anyone
with
failing charges
Mark
for Nathan.
failing
Well,
repeatedly.
yeah, so I failed a 6-inch charge with the Vermin Lord and then had to re-roll it. And I was like, God, failing 6-inch charges just triggers me so much. The amount of
Just
6-inch
the
charges.
flashbacks.
Yeah. It's like the Kill Bill music.
Yeah.
The
What was that,
siren.
like a 63% chance of pass?
I failed 4 6-inch charges with a reroll in a row in the one
It was
turn.
like 1 in 1,000 when we worked to that.
You should have just got somebody over at that point just to roll dice for you.
I felt like getting a judge over
You
to
could
say
roll
the
this
table
on
was cheating.
Just one dice.
Yeah, it was the dice Scott got us for Six
There you
Nations.
go. That's also an NPE. Is when your opponent plays dice you can't read.
When Scott gets
I thought you were going to be like when
It's an
Scott
MP.
buys us the
Scott
dice.
No.
had to
No,
die.
which ones were
So
the
bad.
Scott you had? Was it the white ones you did?
the yellow
No,
ones.
yellow.
I
Yellow
did.
ones were always
They were
so
fine
good.
for me.
I
The
did
yellow
both.
fine
ones
for me.
slap.
I rolled
Oh no,
6
you
times.
did the white ones as well. Yeah.
I did both. Yeah.
Yeah.
They worked
The
fine for
white
me.
ones. I don't remember white ones.
2018.
Well, you weren't on that team at that time, I think.
I was.
He was. Yeah.
It was the
No,
one
it
in
was
Scotland.
Back then, too.
Yeah. It was common ground once.
Oh yeah, I blocked that out of my memory. That wasn't a good one. that was harder. That was I found it harder playing on home territory. I enjoyed going away for the games.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah,
I did
You've a
enjoy
lot
that.
of
It was good getting to
On
sleep
being
in your
it-
car, wasn't it, JP?
Oh, my God. Jesus Christ.
Home territory is a difficult one. It is because it's
it's your
like when
ground,
we went
it's your
away,
land. Yeah.
we were all together as a team, weren't we? Whereas
Yeah.
when we were at home,
Yeah, everyone's just.
it
Everyone
wasn't.
kind of went off, kind of doing their own thing.
It was
and-
difficult, and I think that the anyway.
Yeah, the bus down.
I don't
to-
remember the dice though. They weren't white. They were like a silvery.
No, they're not. Yeah,
pearl.
yeah,
They're
they're
like pearlescent.
opaque. Opaque,
Yeah.
kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I threw you off with white. Is that what the one? The
Yeah,
white
yeah,
was
yeah.
the colour. That
I was thinking then I don't own white Six Nations dice. What? No.
Oh, that was the event you weren't invited to. So that's probably what it was.
But
Did you do dice for last year, or did you just not bother in the
I
end?
never got close enough.
No, we would have done,
Shut down.
but there was. Yeah. No.
oh man, when you were like last year, I was like, yeah, the yellow one. I'm like, 2020, like literally when I'm doing the Listbot stats as well, I'm like separating the years into season, and every time I'm like, oh yeah, I need to remember that 2020 is the year that didn't happen. Like I'm like, there are no like
There's only 4
2020 is
lists.
just yeah, exactly. Like it is just like a huge dip in all the data and stuff. It's just
Yeah.
bad face.
Feels like it does feel like a long time.
In 100 years, they're going to uncover Listbot's stats and they'll be like, what on earth happened in 2020?
That'll be the Rosetta Stone of rebuilding humanity. They'll be like something, well, or at least discovering why we got wiped out. Something happened. The list per second dropped insanely.
Aliens will like access the internet and stumble onto your website and just like, nah, fuck, let's not bother. What's this?
They've already been taken over.
Anyway, I think it's time to wrap up.
Yep.
We'll come back at some point so I can actually talk about this story when you've read the bloody books.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to tell the Vampire Lord story again.
yeah. I want to tell you again. About potential mortal wounds and about converting vampires. I want to tell you about what I did to Volturnus at Aegon as well one day, but not right now. So anyway, that's a goodbye from Orkney.
Goodbye from Balmidi.
Oh, damn.
It's a goodbye for me before I change my background.
Don't be. Oh, Nathan, I told you not to wear the pants.
That's not the worst one.
No, come on. Right.
Patreon only. Make them subscribe for it.
Yeah. We'll put it behind the firewall on the Patreon only the playlist. Yeah. So we'll try and maybe when we start again, come back monthly or something at least. It'd be good.
Talk about events.
Yeah. There'll be events.
Yeah.
There'll be stuff.
No, did we talk about them earlier?
Yeah. We
We
spoke
talked
about
about them all selling it. Yeah.
We didn't really mention them.
Yeah.
You don't rub it in people's faces. They can't go to events that have sold out.
Well, let's just keep our fingers crossed that they go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm still going to wait and believe it when I see it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel at the
Yeah.
moment.
At the
Same.
moment, I'm still a little bit like that.
Same.
But
It'd be
yeah.
good if they do though.
If they are there, scalping that ticket.
I'm like that, looking for a game. I'm just, I can't see my hand doing it.
Well, if Aberdeen gets reduced in tiers, I'll come and give you a game.
I'm not in the city, Phil. I'm Shire.
Well, that's all right.
We got different tiered last time.
JP, I'm getting an army together that's going to be small enough to make
yeah.
it down to Nottingham as well. So
Perfect.
yeah.
Right.
Halfway across the country with my favorite army from all 4 Grand Allegiances, or whatever that question was.
Unfortunately, it's not your favorite opponent from all those armies.
It's going to be a negative play experience.
Well,
Both
look,
sides.
at least you know what's coming, JP.
Yeah,
By
exactly.
yours that you
I know what to expect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'll catch you guys later.
Alright.
I need to face the music. Right, bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.